Sunlight poured into the luxurious mansion, and a faint blush appeared on the young girl's cheeks. As if mustering all the courage she had in her life, she confessed her feelings. "I like you. Please go out with me." However, Herwin replied coldly, "I refuse." The two fell into silence, with only the cawing of a passing crow to be heard. Herwin scratched his head with an innocent look, while Lucia cried silently. "Lucia, if you're just doing this for fun, let's stop here. How many times have you confessed?" Lucia turned her head, forced a light-hearted smile, and thought to herself, "Can that even be counted anymore? The number of times I've confessed to him is known to everyone. He is the eldest son of the second son of the Northern Duke, one of the four great ducal families of the Empire who guards the frontier. Herwin is an outstanding swordsman, already approaching the level of a sword master at a young age, and his handsome appearance caused a sensation when he was at the academy. At that time, the female students at the academy were crazy about him. This man that all women long for has been my best friend for 13 long years." At this moment, Herwin crossed his arms and looked at her. "I've known you since you were 8. You're really persistent." He even jokingly pointed at her chubby cheeks. "The first time you confessed to me was when you were 8, right? And also on my 16th birthday." Lucia shrieked in embarrassment. "Ah, don't bring that up." After she calmed down, Herwin asked seriously, "If you're so embarrassed, why do you keep confessing publicly?" She stammered an explanation. "I didn't mean to. Things just got weird that time." A smile suddenly touched the corner of Herwin's mouth, and he looked at Lucia gently. "Thanks to you, that became an unforgettable birthday for me, though I wouldn't want to go through it again." Lucia blushed again. "I will never confess publicly again in my life. Never, ever." Lucia covered her hot cheeks with her hands, while Herwin looked at her innocently. Suddenly, he had something to say. "Anyway, since you confessed, I'll give you an answer. My answer is the same as before." Herwin explained very frankly, "Lucia, I already have someone I like." Lucia's heart skipped a beat. "That I know. The one you like is Arista." Her hand gently covered her left chest, even though she knew Herwin's heart belonged to someone else. "I have had a one-sided love for him for a long time, a full 13 years. The door was opened by Herwin, and someone greeted them. "Oh, Lucia and Herwin are here. I knew they'd come together." A long-haired young man joked, "You two aren't actually dating, are you?" Lucia quickly clarified, "Not all." But he insisted relentlessly, "You must be dating in secret." Didn't Lucia even confess publicly back at the academy? A red-haired young man chimed in, "I think so too." At this, Lucia waved her hand with a smile. "I told you it's not like that. We just happened to run into each other on the way." "That's right," Herwin repeated calmly. "Lucia and I are just friends." He glanced to the side with a hint of nervousness. "So, don't get the wrong idea, Arista." She tilted her head slightly. "Well, if you say so, then I'll believe you." Arista started talking with Herwin. By the way, Herwin, about the debate tournament. Lucia, like a little tail, kept gazing at his back. The space around her seemed to fall silent. Lucia always reminded herself, "I have to smile as if nothing happened. I hope Herwin doesn't look at me." Hearing a friend's joke, she burst into a bright laugh. No one can find out. The sky was tinged with the colors of dusk, and Lucia sighed wearily. Maybe it ended so late because it's been a while since we last met. She returned to the mansion, thinking it's been so long. It was nice to see everyone again. Just then, the butler came to announce, "My lady, you've returned. The Count wishes to see you." Lucia was slightly startled. "Father?" In the room, Lucia's father was already seated. "Lucia, I've been waiting all day to talk to you about this." She obediently sat down in the chair opposite him. "What is it that is both father and mother here?" He was 3 parts worried and 7 parts uneasy. "You're 21 now, right? It's time for you to get married." Lucia's eyelids drooped slightly, yes. She had always understood one thing in her heart. Nobles usually get engaged or married at 19. Lucia's father gently got to the point. "I know you have feelings for Lord Pianus, which is why we've been waiting for you. But we can't wait any longer. You must go on a blind date." Hearing this news, Lucia became agitated. "A blind date? So suddenly?" He calmly held a stack of documents in his hand. "It's not sudden. We've been considering this for several years. I have selected some boys from good families for you. Go and meet them." She lowered her head, her spirits low. "But Lucia's mother gently stroked her hand. "We're not asking you to go see them tomorrow. We know you need time to sort out your feelings. After all, you've liked Serpenius for 13 years. But even after 13 years, Serpenius's heart still isn't with you, so we can no longer support you. It's time to give up. Life isn't always fortunate, but as the only daughter in the Count's family, which has had a single heir for generations, I was deeply loved by my parents. They had already waited 13 years for this hopeless, one-sided love of mine. Lucia squeezed her mother's hand and comforted her. I understand how father and mother feel. But her next words brought a sigh of relief from Lucia's father. I will fulfill my duty as a member of the Agnes family. But please give me a little more time. His smile suddenly vanished. How much more time do you need? Lucia's shoulders trembled with each sob. Really, just one last time. Please let me confess to Herwin, and if by some miracle Herwin accepts me, can I get engaged to him? Her mother gently stroked her hair. As long as it's someone you love, we would be very happy. But if Serpenius rejects you again this time, you must give up completely and go meet other people. All right. Her words were a final concession. Lucia took a deep breath and confirmed firmly, yes, I will. Back in her room, she sighed and said to herself with a self-deprecating laugh, an engagement, huh? Lucia reached for a pendant in a wooden box. Inside was a lucky 4-leaf clover. Lucia's mood sank again. Going back in time to April 28th, 726 of the imperial calendar, the moment I first met Herwin, I thought, black hair and eyes that sparkled like precious gems. A face so delicate and beautiful, I almost mistook him for a girl. From the very first meeting, Lucia knew her heart had been stolen. She stared at Herwin with wide eyes, thinking, just as my parents said, is this what they call love at first sight? Then, Lucia's parents announced, the Penia's siblings will be staying with us for a while. Everyone say hello. As the older brother, Lucas spoke first. Hello, I'm Lucas Agnes. Lucia also curtsied and introduced herself. I'm Lucia. It's nice to meet you. Herwin replied with his deep red pupils. I'm Herwin Penias, and this is my younger brother, Henry. It's nice to meet you. And then she accidentally blurted out, a child as beautiful as an angel. Lucia's cheeks flushed slightly. Back then, whatever I thought in my heart, I would say without thinking. The 8-year-old Lucia praised innocently, you're so pretty, like an angel. But unknowingly, those words hit Herwin like a blow. Me? An angel? The 8-year-old Herwin shouted angrily. Are you making fun of me because I look like a girl? At that age, we couldn't distinguish between goodwill and hostility. Lucia fell into despair instantly. Does the angel hate me? Herwin emphasized without hesitation, I really hate being made fun of, so don't do it. Seeing this, Lucas hugged Lucia. Who do you think you are? Making my sister cry. Herwin's mother ran out to comfort her. Lucia, are you crying? Is it because of our Herwin? Seeing the scene, Herwin took a step back. No, I didn't mean to. As soon as he spoke, Lucia cried even harder. Oh dear, it was now a sea of tears here. An unforgettable memory. That's how we first met. While playing in the garden, Herwin was focused only on watching Henry. Lucia quietly approached him. She clutched her skirt, wanting to speak but hesitating. Taking a deep breath, Lucia asked directly, are you mad at me? Herwin was slightly startled. Huh? She lowered her face and explained in a small voice, I want to be friends with you. Are you mad because I said you were pretty? He immediately turned his face away, avoiding her gaze. Did you say that to make fun of me? People who hate me always say I'm pretty when they see me. That's why I hate being called pretty. Lucia's next words confused him. But I don't hate you, I like you. Herwin's pupils contracted involuntarily, and he was speechless. Just then, Lucas came over. What's this? Do you two like each other now? Lucia and Herwin like each other. Henry added happily. That's what they said. Herwin retorted with a red face. No, we don't. No, I don't like him. How could I possibly like him? Suddenly, Lucia's voice came from behind. You don't like me? Herwin stammered with a blush. I don't like you. She gripped her dress tightly, shot up to her feet, and with her eyes squeezed shut, shouted, then I don't like you either, and watched her leave. Herwin chased after her, shouting, hey, where are you going? Lucia ran straight into the forest. Hey, they told us not to go into that forest. She stubbornly didn't look back. I'm going anyway, you idiot. Herwin stopped in his tracks, looking at her with worry, then turned to look at Henry and Lucas. He sat on the ground angrily. I don't care anymore. Strange child. Dissatisfaction began to grow in his heart. If a tide of monsters hadn't broken out in the north, Father wouldn't have sent me to a place like this. I bet Father is out there fighting monsters right now. In the empty forest, Lucia shouted alone, I hate Herwin too. She sullenly wiped the tears from her cheeks. He's not pretty at all. I'll never like him again. Suddenly, Lucia realized something was coming. It was a black wolf on the prowl. The wolf looked very hungry. It looked at her as if it had found a treasure and pounced. Lucia panicked and ran for her life. Suddenly, she bumped into Herwin. He was surprised to see her panicked state. "Lucia, what's wrong?" Suddenly, she screamed. Lucia tried to shake him. "Over there, behind us." In front of the two children was a rabid wolf. Lucia collapsed to the ground, unable to stand. Herwin pulled her hand hard. "Get up, we have to run." She stammered an explanation. "I can't stand up." Helpless, he thought of another way. Suddenly, the taunting words from behind Herwin flooded his mind. "I even thought he was a girl because of that pretty face. I wonder if he'll be able to hold a sword later. Maybe he should wear a dress. Like a coward with a cute face." Duke Peneus was a brave sword genius since he was young, but his son is so timid. Maybe that's why the Duke sent the young master to the Agnes family. The Duke had an aura by his teens, but Herwin doesn't seem to have any talent for swordsmanship. The more Herwin thought, the more breathless he became. "That I'm scared," he told himself, gripping the wooden sword tightly. "I want to run away, but if I run alone, she will..." At that thought, Herwin decided to face it. He took a step forward and challenged the beast before him. "Don't come any closer." And it charged at each other. The wolf bit the wooden sword, trying to tear it apart, and Herwin struggled fiercely. Behind him, Lucia struggled to her feet. She picked up a rock from the roadside, raised it high, and warned, "Don't you dare hurt Herwin." The rock hit the wolf's head, making it pause for a moment, and it unexpectedly let go of the wooden sword. Herwin seized the opportunity and swung his sword down, hitting the wolf directly. The wolf's body trembled, drool dripping from its mouth, and it ran straight into the forest with its tail between its legs. Lucia gasped for air. "It's gone." Herwin knelt before her and asked, "Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?" Lucia collapsed like a deflated balloon. "I thought I was going to die." He questioned her sternly. "Why did you run into the forest alone?" "I told you not to go in." She retorted with a sob. "Then why did you follow me?" Herwin was embarrassed. "I wasn't following you, but were you looking for this?" "A four-leaf clover." Her eyes filled with tears. "You followed me just to give me this." Herwin blushed and turned his face away, avoiding her gaze. He expressed his feelings in a small voice. "I don't like being called pretty, and I don't like angels either, because I'm going to be a cool and strong sword genius like my father. But that doesn't mean I hate you. Hey, take it." With that, Herwin reached out to help Lucia up. "You can stand, right?" She nodded shyly. "MHM." He took her hand and walked forward. "Let's go. Everyone must be looking for us." In that moment, the feelings became clearer. My heart was beating so fast. It was the beginning of my first love. As soon as they returned, the adults were extremely worried. "Oh my, Herwin, what happened?" Another person immediately asked, "How did your clothes get like this?" Herwin, still happily holding Lucia's hand, said, "There was a wild dog threatening Lucia, so I defeated it. I fought bravely, just like father." The adults exclaimed in surprise, "What? Are you hurt?" "Goodness, you went into the forest. We should call a doctor, just in case you're injured." Just then, Lucia gently shook his hand. "Herwin, I really like you, and I'm going to marry you." These words reached the ears of the two ladies. Herwin broke out in a cold sweat and glanced back. Henry's voice came from somewhere. "What? Brother, are you crazy?" Lucas pointed angrily at the two children, Lucia, you, and Herwin. An invisible pressure weighed on Herwin, and those mental torments echoed in his mind again. Only little girls would like Herwin because he's pretty. Isn't he a little girl? Let's make him wear a dress. Hey, he's crying. Gradually, Herwin's state became chaotic. In an accident, he had overheard some words. It seems that because Duke Peneus is quite quiet and gentle, he's looked down upon by the servants' children. Due to frequent bullying, the boy has suffered psychological trauma. When the attention was focused on him, pain was accompanied by panic. How can the heir to the kingdom have such a weak will? I wonder if he can lead a monster subjugation. Like the Duke. Is he really Duke Peneus' son? Herwin staggered, accompanied by soft sobs. "Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me, Lucia looked at him with concern. "Herwin." Suddenly, Herwin put up a defensive wall. "Don't look. I really hate you." As soon as the words were out, he realized what he had just done. Lucia subconsciously took a step back. Herwin paused, trying to explain, "No, But he was met with only silence from Lucia. She blushed and asked him gently, "You don't even want to be friends?" Herwin was stunned by this persistence. She repeated seriously, I'm asking if you hate me so much that you don't even want to be friends with me. His cheeks turned pink. No, it's not like that. She was overjoyed at this answer. Really? Then let's be friends. But I'll still like you a lot, and I'll still keep telling you I like you. Herwin was slightly startled. What? Lucia asked innocently with wide eyes. Can I say it? He wanted to stop her, don't. But then he saw Lucia looking like a sad puppy with drooping ears. So he grabbed her hand. The previous words of refusal changed. Fine, do as you please. However, Herwin whispered in Lucia's ear, just never do it in front of others. Her mood bloomed like a flower. Okay, I understand. And that was Herwin's answer to my first confession. From that day on, I confessed to him every day. In the year we were both 8, Lucia confessed to Herwin, Herwin, I like you. At 12, she followed Herwin like a little tail. Herwin, let's go out. He narrowed his eyes in annoyance. How many times have I heard that? Or whenever she had a chance, Lucia would always ask him, Herwin, marry me. Being used to it, Herwin would reply nonchalantly, don't you ever get tired of it? At 18, Lucia still had the same feelings. Herwin, I like you. He replied lazily offhandedly, yeah, I know. He wrapped his arm around her neck. Are you crazy? Really? This time, anything was fine as long as it wasn't a public confession. Lucia lay on her bed, muttering to herself, the number of times I've confessed to Herwin, and he's rejected me. It's now at 96, 97 times, and if I count yesterday, I've confessed and been rejected 98 times. Is this real? I'm so persistent. Even so, she thought more lightly of it. I understand why Herwin doesn't take my confession seriously. To be honest, I was just messing around when I was a kid. And when I was 18, I did something that Herwin deeply despised. If that incident had never happened, Herwin would never have fallen for Arista. She buried her face in her pillow, and a frantic voice came from outside. My lady, my lady. Lucia jumped up and asked, Sign, what is it? Why are you rushing like that? Sign announced breathlessly, Duke Herwin is here to visit. I thought you might want to prepare before seeing him, so I had him wait for a moment. She was slightly startled. Herwin. She rubbed her face in a panic. Oh no, I drank and cried last night, my face. Sign suggested understandingly. I'll bring a face mask to reduce the swelling, and we'll put on some makeup to add some color. A moment later, Sign and other servants worked hard to dress Lucia up. In another room, the proud Herwin took a sip of tea. The door opened, and he called out gently, Lucia. She was wearing a pink dress and smiled at Lucia. Sorry, did I take too long? He quickly waved his hand to reassure her. Not at all. I'm the one who came unannounced. Lucia sat down in the chair opposite Herwin and asked curiously, But what brings you here? We just saw each other yesterday. It hasn't even been a day since we parted. He explained readily. I received news from my territory last night. I thought I should tell you first before anyone else, so I came. She was slightly curious. What is it? Herwin said seriously, I think I'll be going to the north in a month. Lucia was surprised one after another. A whole month? Herwin's face was full of confidence as he clasped his hands tightly. Yes, I've decided to participate in a monster subjugation to help my father. Since I'm about to become a sword master, I can't be left out. Father also wants to pass on the headship of the family to me soon, and I want to use this opportunity to prove to him that I am a son he can be proud of. At this, she mentioned one thing. Have you told Arista? Herwin hesitated for a moment, then replied, I'm on my way back after telling her. I'll let the others know by letter, but I wanted to tell you directly as a final farewell. I'll always be rooting for you. Because of those words, it was hard for Lucia to speak. She had to ask another thing. Is the departure date set? Herwin replied refreshingly, in a week. A strong shock ran through Lucia's entire body. She lowered her head, her whole body trembling slightly. A week. Lucia remembered the promise with her parents. Really, just one last time. I'll confess to Herwin, and if by some miracle Herwin accepts me, can I get engaged to him? She stroked her head and proposed, but if you're rejected this time, you have to give up cleanly and go meet other people. In a daze, Herwin came to Lucia's side. Don't worry too much. He embraced her and comforted her. I'll come back safely. Because there was no time left, Lucia had to take a chance. Herwin, before you go, can you give me one day? Just one day. He asked curiously, one day? You mean a whole day? She answered firmly, yes. Lucia took Herwin's hand, her voice firm. I have something I must tell you. He asked in return, what's so important? However, she kept the secret until the end. I'll tell you when we meet. It's very important. Herwin turned into a puppy wagging its tail and agreed. All right, when do you want to meet? I'm free anytime. Lucia thought for a moment, then said, since today is Sunday, how about next Friday? He also nodded happily. Sounds good. Let's meet then. It's been a while since it was just the two of us. What do you want to do? Looking at the smile on each other's lips, Lucia thought. Does Herwin know that this will be my 99th and final confession? And that regardless of his answer. The days we face each other as friends will end today. That night, the moonlight was bright. Lucia embroidered a handkerchief in her room, muttering to herself, since this is the last confession, I want to give something meaningful. She thought a handkerchief was small and would be useful even on the battlefield, making it very practical. She felt a little sentimental as she made the last gift for Herwin. Usually, this was a gift for a lover or fiancé, but sometimes it was given to a close friend so Herwin wouldn't feel awkward. When it was done, Lucia held it up to look at it. It was decent for a rushed piece of work if it was for Herwin. Even if I embroider my initials here, he probably won't notice. He seems meticulous, but he's quite dense about some things. But if Herwin doesn't accept my heart, then this is all meaningless. Sion, who was beside her, asked, My lady, you have a date with Prince Peneus tomorrow, don't you? The hand holding the sewing needle suddenly trembled. She frowned, feeling sorry for Lucia. The lovely lady is even embroidering a handkerchief by hand. When will Prince Peneus ever realize your heart? She forced a smile as if asking herself, Yes, when will he ever realize? Seeing her master looking a little down, Sion ran over to encourage her. Even if Prince Peneus says he can't accept it, please don't be too disheartened. You are lovelier than anyone, my lady. Lucia burst out laughing. Are you comforting me? I haven't even been rejected yet. She bowed in confusion. I apologize if I have overstepped my bounds. You have seemed very sad lately. However, all that came was Lucia's reassurance. You were worried, Sion. Sorry, I might have had a lot on my mind lately. Sion held her hand to encourage her. My lady, please don't try to bear everything alone. Sometimes sharing your burdens with others makes you stronger. You know I'm always on your side, right? Lucia laughed it off and asked again, Do you think I'll be rejected again this time? Sion hurriedly changed the subject. I was just saying, don't mind it. Not wanting to weigh down her mood, Sion immediately changed the topic. Are you done with the embroidery? If there's any difficult part, I can help you. She showed off the newly embroidered handkerchief. It's almost done. Look, isn't it pretty? Sion was like a fan seeing her idol. Oh my, when did you finish all this? You haven't had much time lately. Our lady is truly capable of anything. Seeing her happy, Lucia thought. Even Sion praised it. So I must have done a good job, right? To this extent, Herwin will like it too, right? Please let my feelings reach him. Finally, the Friday date arrived. Lucia had everything ready, but for some reason, her heart was beating a little fast. I feel a little nervous. When she saw the person before her, a light flashed in her eyes. Herwin was in casual clothes today. Good morning, Lucia. Lucia covered her mouth and asked curiously, Why aren't you in uniform? He didn't look at her and just replied, I just felt like it. Lucia walked with him towards the carriage. I think this outfit suits you well too. Herwin smiled, really? So, what do you want to do today? Lucia put her hands on her hips and declared, You won't mind being dragged around by me all day, will you? Will I? Herwin scratched his head and asked curiously, What are you planning to do? She pouted at him. Anyone who sees us would think I'm bullying you. It's just that since you're leaving soon, I want to have fun together before it's too late. Suddenly, Herwin remembered something. That's right. We haven't been alone together for a long time. There were always other people around. He extended his hand to help Lucia into the carriage. After they were seated, she began the date's itinerary. First we'll go to the city center, then to the restaurant I've booked. He nodded happily. All right. The restaurant was filled with nobles and high society people. The food was elegantly decorated, served with wine glasses. Herwin looked around and then commented, The atmosphere here is great and the food is delicious. I'll definitely come again next time. Lucia revealed a secret to him. Actually, this is my first time here too. It's been very popular lately, so I heard it's hard to get a reservation. He looked at her, stunned. Really? Then I'm looking forward to the main course even more. Just then, the waiter came out. Here is your main course. Special wine sauce steak and fresh mushroom steak. If you need anything else, please call me. Lucia's face turned pale and her hands froze. I was so excited about coming to a famous restaurant with Herwin that I ended up ordering a dish with mushrooms. Should I avoid the mushrooms and just take a bite, then force a smile and praise how delicious it looks? Unexpectedly, Herwin took the fork from her hand. Let's switch dishes. She frowned in confusion. Why? He casually picked up the plate of food and said, "Why do you ask? You can't eat mushrooms." Lucia blushed and waved her hands. "No, that's too impolite." However, Herwin did as he pleased. "It's fine, just sit tight." A moment later, the plate of food was switched. She blushed and whispered, "It's okay to eat it. I'm not allergic." Herwin skillfully cut the steak in front of her. "It's not just about being a picky eater. You said mushrooms make you nauseous. Once you ate them without knowing and felt sick all day. You should have checked the menu before booking, right?" Reminded again, Lucia pouted and defended herself. "I guess I was too excited because I managed to get a reservation." Taking the first bite, Herwin said, "It's delicious. What are you doing? Why aren't you eating?" Because she had been watching him, she awkwardly covered it up. "I was just about to eat." The love in her heart grew. He remembered that I can't eat mushrooms, but I didn't expect him to switch plates without hesitation. That was an act that broke etiquette. Maybe Herwin did it out of concern for a childhood friend. But even such a small gesture made my heart flutter. After the meal, the two were walking when they passed a jewelry store. Lucia pressed against a glass door. "Herwin, let's go in and have a look." He didn't refuse at all, replying, "All right." Everything inside was the height of luxury. The clerk said, "Welcome." Lucia looked around as if searching for something. Then she pointed at a cravat in front of her and said, "This would suit you. I'll buy one." Herwin, holding two bags, said in confusion, "Why do I feel like we're only buying things for me? You've already bought me a fountain pen and a tie." As soon as he finished speaking, Lucia stopped him. "No, today you promised to spend the whole day for me. Didn't you agree to whatever I do? I'm also planning to buy you a brooch like this, so just accept it." The clerk beside them enthusiastically suggested, "While we wrap the items, please feel free to look around. We have many new arrivals today." Lucia felt a little interested. "Really?" Herwin followed her every move. What's so fun about buying things for others without even buying anything for herself? She was still excitedly saying, "This one is pretty too." Just then, Herwin also started to look around. He noticed a pair of delicate earrings. The clerk immediately came over. "Are you looking for something, sir?" Herwin asked him, "Can I take a closer look at this?" The earrings sparkled under the light. Herwin picked one up to examine it. He held it up in front of Lucia to test it out. Then he smiled unconsciously. A moment later, only Lucia's voice was heard. "I'm only buying the brooch today. The other items don't match the style of the person I'm gifting." The clerk bowed respectfully. "All right, please come again." Walking outside, Lucia asked him, "Herwin, did you look around?" He looked at her gently and replied, "Let's go." The carriage was dyed gold by the setting sun. In the theater, Herwin watched the play intently, while Lucia watched him intently. Everyone has been talking about this play lately. I wonder if Herwin likes it. The stage lights shone on the main characters. The male and female leads embraced affectionately. "My lady, I've missed you so much." The girl also replied, "I've been thinking of you all week." Before this, the Count appeared from behind. The man on his knees. "Good heavens, why do you subject me to such a cruel test?" The next words made Lucia's heart skip a beat. "I've fallen in love with my friend again. Why am it not me? I've been with you longer." But the lady refused. "I'm sorry, Syrian, but I've never thought of you that way." In the end, the Count took her hand. "I will love only you for the rest of my life." The lady replied shyly, "Matthias." Below the stage, Lucia watched the back of the second male lead, her lips pressed tightly together. A faint sadness welled up in her eyes. "We love in the same way. So why are the endings to our stories so different?" She too, like that second male lead, watched him being happy with Arista. The two of them talking to each other. "Arista, wanna practice sword with me today?" She always replied, "Sure." Only Lucia was left alone like a third wheel. Thinking of this, a tear gently slid down Herwin's cheek. The play had a happy ending, so why am I crying? The actors on stage held hands and bowed. Herwin clapped, not noticing Lucia wiping the corner of her eye. A few seconds later, she was back to her radiant self. The play was more interesting than expected, right? He tilted his head and looked at her. "Yeah," Lucia suggested. "Shall we get up?" Herwin quickly nodded and stood up. "All right." Walking outside, he was still praising it. "After watching it, I understand why it's so popular. Thanks to you, I got to see something so good." Lucia was a little surprised. "I didn't expect you to like that type of play. I mean, it's just a typical love story." Herwin said very enthusiastically, "It wasn't boring at all. There were a lot of interesting parts in it." Suddenly, her gaze sadly averted. "I see. That's good." The night deepened, and a full moon hung over the rooftops. Hyun looked at her and smiled. It's getting late. Let's go have dinner. Suddenly, Lucia stopped in her tracks and called out softly, Hyun. The wind carried cherry blossoms with it. He turned around. Why are you standing still, Lucia? Lucia didn't rush to answer, simply taking the prepared gift out of her bag. She held it out in front of him and said, I think it's time to give this to you. Hyun reached for it. What is this? Lucia expressed her feelings once more. I like you, Hyun. Will you go out with me? His hand froze in midair, then quickly retracted. What is this? It's only been a week since your last confession. I didn't expect you to be this persistent. Unlike before, Lucia was very firm this time. Answer me, Hyun. He turned his head to the side in confusion. I'm sorry. Like I said last time, Before he could finish, Lucia cut him off. It's okay. I already know the reason, so there's no need to hear it again. Suddenly, a memory from the academy came to mind. That day, the most important practical exam for the swordsmanship class was underway. A heavy rain came unexpectedly, but fortunately, no one was seriously injured during the evaluation. But then, in the rainy night, someone rushed into the tent. The person's voice was filled with panic. Professor, I swear I saw a monster. We have to go save Hyun and Arista. All of this was heard by Lucia. A monster? The man called Professor considered it. The rain is too heavy. If we go now, we might not even be able to find them. Let's wait for the rain to let up a bit. However, the student there kept urging, Hyun and Arista are already quasi-sword masters. If they haven't returned yet, what does that mean? We saw the monster with our own eyes. When Lucia heard, if they run into it, they'll be in extreme danger. The umbrella in her hand fell to the ground. Her face turned pale, and she walked in. They're not back yet. Her friend stammered. Yes, Hyun and Arista are the only two still missing. Suddenly someone threw open the tent and ran in. Someone's coming. They all ran out to check. In front of them, two familiar figures appeared. Lucia immediately ran over and shouted, Hyun. At this moment, Arista was supporting him. A moment later, they were taken into the tent for treatment. The professor asked Arista about the situation. Hyun was the first to spot the monster and protected me. He was seriously injured in the process. The professor decided, we need to inform the knights. This is the first time a monster has appeared around here. Before the professor left, Arista smiled. I defeated that monster. These words shocked them. You defeated a monster? So you've reached the level of a sword master. She mastered aura even before Prince Peneus. I heard that Miss Arista and Prince Peneus have amazing skills, but it was just the two of them against a monster. The professor placed a hand on her shoulder, full of trust. You two fought a monster directly. You must still be exhausted. Go inside and rest. Just as Arista was about to leave, Lucia called out to her, Arista, thank you for saving Hyun. She waved her hand and explained, no, if it weren't for Hyun, I might not be here. However, Lucia was still very grateful. I will never forget what you did for him. Suddenly, Arista spoke softly. Lucia, if you're truly grateful, can you grant me a request in the future? Not now, just sometime in the future. The next morning, the sun was dazzling. I had planned to scold Hyun when he woke up. I wanted to ask him why he said he would come down the mountain first, but came back so late, why he was so reckless. But when Hyun opened his eyes, I forgot everything I was going to say. Lucia exclaimed excitedly, Hyun, you're awake. Hyun struggled to sit up and asked her, Lucia, where am I? Lucia quickly replied, the infirmary. Don't try to get up, you're bruised all over. He smiled gently, realization dawning. Ah, so that's why I've been in pain. Lucia worriedly asked her, are you hungry? Does anywhere hurt more? He didn't answer, just hurried to get out of bed. I need to go see Arista. Can you help me over there? Please, Lucia. At that moment, Lucia felt something was wrong. Right. From that day on, Hyun and Arista became even closer. A few days later, I asked Hyun a question. Until one day, she blurted out, do you like Arista? Hyun's face twisted. I like Arista? I guess so. The wandering thoughts were pulled back by Hyun's call. Lucia. She handed him the gift and said, I don't think I can stay for dinner. I'll be going first. Hyun immediately followed behind her. It's dark. I'll walk you home. It's too dark for you to go alone. Lucia stammered her refusal. No, it's okay. He asked worriedly, what if something happens to you? Suddenly, she turned around, her eyes welling with tears. Hyun, don't make me feel so pathetic. Those words made Hyun's pupils constrict in surprise. Lucia lowered her head, her eyes filled with sorrow. I'm sorry for causing all this. Before I go to the north, let's greet each other with a smile next time. Lucia Agnes opened the door and walked in. I'm back. Both of them were very worried. Lucia, your face. What happened? She said only one thing. It's all over now. Her parents still didn't understand her words. Lucia, what do you mean? Lucia, Agnes said painfully. Herwin rejected me, so it's all over. Her mother pitied her daughter, Lucia. She accepted the reality. I will go on the blind dates, just as you and father wished. Lucia, Agnes slowly walked past them. Her mother said in a worried voice, Dear, are you really okay? As she entered her room, she called out softly, Sion. Sion peeked in to listen, yes. Miss Lucia, Agnes buried her face and cried, Is love always this painful? All I wanted was Herwin's love. Maybe that was too much to ask for. Sion gently held her and comforted her. Think of it as growing pains. Miss Sion suggested in a small voice, If it hurts this much, maybe it's better not to feel it anymore. The reason it hurts so much is because you really care about Mr. Peneus. She tried to guess Miss Lucia Agnes's feelings. But you don't regret loving him all this time, do you? But she denied it, no? Sion smiled at her. Then that's enough. Then she continued to comb Miss Lucia Agnes's hair. Please rest for a few days. She smiled. Her spirits lifted. I will, Sion. Time passed quickly, and 3 days later, she tossed and turned in her warm blanket. Lucia curled up in the blanket. I cried for 3 days straight. I can barely see anything now. She felt her mood had improved. Sion was right. After resting for a few days, I feel a bit better. Lucia Agnes slowly got up from the bed. She walked to the table where several books lay. She casually picked up the pink book, as if opening a secret box. Each line appeared, Today, Herwin. Lucia Agnes hugged the book to her chest. Whenever I see anything related to Herwin, I know I'll just keep thinking about him. She gently gripped the wardrobe handle. Then she put the book inside the wardrobe. Lucia Agnes wanted to hide it forever. I finally did it. She told herself, I will overcome these growing pains. Downstairs, her parents were having breakfast. She walked down the stairs and asked respectfully, Father, Mother, did you sleep well? Her gentle mother called her over. Lucia, come here. You must be hungry. Lucia Agnes sat down and asked softly, May I join you for breakfast? Her father followed up, Are you really okay now? Her mother really didn't want to force her. You can tell us after you've eaten, or whenever you're ready, Lucia. Lucia Agnes waved her hand to indicate, I'm fine now. I'm sorry for worrying you, Mother. They didn't press her. All right, if you say you're fine, then we'll believe you. Lucia Agnes hesitated for a moment and changed the subject. When should we schedule my first blind date? She had thought about it carefully. I think we can start arranging the blind dates from tomorrow, Father. But she felt it was rushed. Lucia, isn't that a bit too hasty? Her father clasped his hands together, indulging Lucia Agnes. Well, do as you wish. Just don't push yourself too hard. Her mother still wanted her to be in the most stable state. You don't have to rush, Lucia. Go at your own pace. Lucia Agnes managed to reply yes. Both of them were always cheering for her. We'll always be here to support you. Soon, time passed again. The next day, she stepped lightly out of the carriage. I ended up coming too early. Lucia Agnes sighed in frustration. I boasted to my parents that I was ready for blind dates starting today, but I'm actually not interested in it at all. Then she immediately comforted herself. Who knows, maybe I'll fall in love at first sight. Don't think so negatively beforehand. Lucia Agnes slowly walked inside. She saw a figure from behind and guessed, Is that him? So she shyly whispered, Excuse me, are you Master Simon DeHard? He turned around and blurted out, Yes, that's me. Lucia Agnes then introduced herself. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Lucia Agnes. He scratched his head awkwardly. You're quite early, though there's still a while until the appointed time. Simon DeHard said frankly, I'm in the process of inheriting the family's trading company, so maybe that's why I value punctuality so much. I find Miss Agnes very likable for that. She replied coolly, Oh, is that so? Then she thought, he's about 5 years older than me, but he seems calmer than most. He immediately got to the point. To be honest, I was surprised that the Agnes family proposed this marriage first. I heard that Miss Agnes has long had her heart set on someone else. She didn't deny it at all. That's correct. Simon DeHard immediately showed his true colors. Because of the age gap, I don't know the details well, but that actually reassures me. Now, I have nothing left to hesitate about. This took her by surprise, and she asked, Hesitate about what? Simon DeHard replied with a smile, I also have someone I love. Unfortunately, she's a commoner, so I can't marry her. Lucia Agnes naturally did not accept this answer. I think I need a clearer explanation. He put on a sly face. since there's no love between us, I thought we could let each other live freely. You and Mr. Penias have a similar relationship, right? Hearing this, Agnes shot up from her seat. Where are you going? She stated her point frankly. I want a sincere husband who values family, not someone like you who lives for pleasure. This left Simon DeHar dumbfounded. What did you say? She narrowed her eyes and evaluated. What kind of person is he? So my first blind date was a failure. The next day, the next person was a gentle fellow. He confessed directly, I like Miss Agnes. She is very kind and looks like an angel. Lucia knew, understand, but he pleaded weakly. Actually, my mother has been suffering from dementia recently. If Miss Agnes marries me, I believe she will take good care of my mother. Hearing this, Agnes had had enough. I'm sorry. She didn't like that at all. The second man wasn't as rude as Simon DeHard, but he suddenly asked me to take care of his mother. By the fourth man, the ideas were even more absurd. How many children do you want? I think at least 3 is ideal. Let's skip the wedding and go straight to the honeymoon. Agnes sighed after hearing this. What kind of person talks about having children before even holding hands? She said politely, I'm sorry. He confidently claimed, but you'll regret it if you refuse me, you know? He boasted that it wouldn't be easy to find someone as good as me, and that even those who don't care about high society would hear rumors about you. Those words stabbed into her heart like a knife. What man would accept a woman who had loved another man for over a decade? Agnes suddenly reminded him. That has nothing to do with you, sir. He shamelessly continued. All right. In any case, think it over. What was bound to happen, happened in the end. Agnes sipped her tea. I don't know how things will turn out today. I'm curious if the person coming to see me today is strange. He didn't even arrive on time. Clearly, something is wrong. She also considered the negative possibility. Perhaps he heard the rumors and decided to reject me first. So Agnes stood up, ready to leave. I shouldn't waste any more time. I should go. Just then, someone shouted from behind, Wait, please wait a moment. The man seemed to have just run over, panting in front of her. Bern Casper gently wiped the sweat from his cheek. May I ask if you are Miss Agnes? She nodded and introduced herself. I am Agnes. He said gently, Thank you for waiting. He even apologized politely. Please forgive me for introducing myself so late. My name is Bern Casper. The two sat down together, and Agnes said frankly, I was about to leave because you hadn't arrived for a long time. Vernon Casper didn't mind at all. I wouldn't blame you. Actually, there was an accident on the way here, which is why I was a little late. Agnes was startled to hear about an accident. He bowed in apology. Yes, there was a carriage collision, which resulted in a horse getting injured. I'm truly sorry. At the same time, he expressed his gratitude. Thank you. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. I thought ill of him because he was late, but he is more polite than I imagined. No, wait. She reconsidered. The first person I had a blind date with also left a rather good impression. Agnes clasped her hands tightly. I can't let my guard down just because he is well-mannered. Bern Casper said with certainty, I will never make you wait again, milady. She wanted to add, if there's a next time. He looked up at the sky and remarked, the weather has been very pleasant these days. The sky is really clear. Bern Casper told her sincerely, in a novel I like, there's a city called Atlanta where the weather is very similar to here. Agnes lit up at once. Are you talking about The Soul of Atlanta? Bern confirmed, that's right. It's not a very popular work, but you know of it. She explained why she knew it. The professor I admired most at the academy recommended it to me. He realized they had something in common. A history professor. I also enjoy reading some of the books he recommended. What a coincidence. Lucia then nodded shyly. Ah, yes, that's right. Perhaps I shouldn't have brought up the academy. However, she was still a little worried. What if he asks about the rumors about me? He also expressed regret. What a shame. If I were a year younger, we could have been book buddies at the academy. Lucia replied with a smile. I think so too. Suddenly, his voice lowered. Milady, did you know? Lucia began to feel something was amiss, no what? It turned out what Bern said was not what she was thinking. Actually, in the second library at the academy, there's a hidden room. This made her breathe a sigh of relief. No, I just found out. The two chatted about one thing after another, having a wonderful time. It wasn't until the sun began to set that she looked up and told Bern, it's gotten so late. And he himself hadn't realized. I was so caught up in talking, I completely lost track of time. She smiled happily. It's been a long time since I've had such a pleasant conversation. Bern felt the same way, me too. Lucia asked softly, so it's not just me who feels this way? Yes, regarding today, he still felt guilty. Actually, I thought you might have already left before I could get here. Lucia's voice was a little flustered. So you ran here, thinking I'd already left? Bern's face lowered slightly. not daring to look at her directly. Yes, just in case you were still here. He felt that what he did was very wrong. If you were still waiting, I thought I had to come and apologize properly. She laughed softly and said charmingly, I'm glad I was still waiting. If I had left a few minutes earlier, I would have missed a date with a very wonderful person. He immediately blushed, waving his hands. Wonderful? You don't have to speak well of me. At this point, Lucia's mood had improved greatly. In times like these, it's really hard to find someone as honest as you, Marquis. He blushed a little from the compliment. Thank you, Miss Agnes. She prepared to get on the carriage to say goodbye. I have to go. But Burns stopped her again, milady. Lucia turned and asked, Yes? Burns said gently and politely, If you're willing, could we meet again next time? Lucia was very honored by this. Yes, I will. Byrne waved goodbye with a red face. Thank you. I will send a letter to your residence later. Lucia stepped into the carriage and offered a blessing. Be careful on your way, Marquis. As the carriage moved further away, Cyan was curious about today's meeting. Milady, did it go well today? Was that gentleman a good person? And she didn't know where to begin. Well then, Lucia replied happily. Thankfully, he didn't mention anything about Herwin, and the conversation went very smoothly. She imagined a scenario. If we were in the same academy, we would have become good friends, right? Hearing this, Cyan's face was full of excitement. Oh my goodness, that alone is enough to meet the standard. Lucia didn't expect a reaction. Why do you seem to like him more than I do? She continued with a blush. So you don't like him, milady? You won't be seeing each other again? Lucia scratched her lip and guessed. I think we'll be seeing each other again soon. Time flew by, and 3 weeks later, Byrne bowed slightly, asking for her opinion. I was really looking forward to this play, and it exceeded my expectations. What about you, milady? What did you think? She didn't know what to say. Lucia, try to recall the contents of the play. She pretended to find it interesting. Although I've already seen this play twice, I also enjoyed it very much. Burr mentioned the part he found most interesting. I found that dialogue quite touching, the part with the supporting male character, the one who wasn't chosen by the heroine. That story seemed to foreshadow his future fate. Like the happier the main couple is, the more painful and lonely the remaining person becomes. That's truly heartbreaking, isn't it? This made Byrne blurt out, Oh, was that too sad? No, you weren't. She showed empathy. I enjoy hearing your thoughts. Marquis Byrne was somewhat pleased. Really? She replied, Actually, I feel the same way. Suddenly, Byrne remembered something. Did you receive this? The invitation to the princess's engagement party. Lucia had also received an invitation to that party. Yes, I received it a few days ago. I heard they want to keep it simple, just holding an engagement party. Byrne politely proposed, If you don't mind, would you go with me? This made Lucia hesitate. As everyone knows, Princess Lydia Arista's brother. And the princess's engagement party is a royal party, accompanying someone to a party where most of the nobility will gather, and what she hesitated about was, this is no different from declaring an intention to be engaged. Lucia was afraid of the Marquis and herself. She immediately comforted herself. No, stop thinking about Herwin. The Marquis and I have known each other for 3 weeks. Lucia regained her spirits. It's okay to go together. Oh, Byrne didn't insist either. If you feel uncomfortable, then I can go by myself. Lucia took his hand and agreed. No, let's go together, Marquis. To bring the two closer, Byrne gently suggested, Don't always call me Marquis from now on. Please call me Byrne. She also wanted him to call her by her name. Then please call me Lucia too, instead of milady. The sky had turned into a fantastical nightscape. Walking into the room, Lucia saw a letter. She slowly picked it up, a letter. A letter from the person Lucia liked. A letter from Herwin. She fell into hesitation. Rather than overthinking it, I should just read it now, right? Every line of the letter unfolded before her eyes. My work is done, so I will be returning to the capital today. I heard the princess is having an engagement ceremony in a few days, and I plan to attend. What about you? I hope that when we meet at this party, we can greet each other with a smile. Lucia smiled unconsciously. It's been a long time since I received a letter from Herwin on his own initiative. Maybe he's still thinking about our breakup before I return to the north. However, the situation has changed, but this time I will be going with Byrne as my companion. She put away the letter sadly. That means everyone will know about our relationship. The two are now just old schoolmates. There's nothing awkward between them. Lucia agreed with one thing in the letter. Herwin is right. Let's smile when we meet. Time flew, and a few days later, Lucia walked out in luxurious high heels. Herwin is right. Let's smile when we meet. Seeing her attire today, her parents couldn't help but exclaim, Lucia, if you said you were getting married tomorrow, Mother would believe it. You look so mature and beautiful. Lucia is like a newly made doll. Really. They also noticed another difference. It's the first time I've seen that pair of earrings. The sparkling earrings were a gift from Bern a few days ago. The two were secretly pleased, saying to each other, oh my, of course, that child seems to like Lucia. She friendly indicated to them, I think he likes me, and I feel the same way about Bern. She also revealed more. Lucas will also be at the party today. This was unheard of before. Your brother is back. Her mother gently instructed her, thinking about it. Your brother, the one who was an aide, must feel strange witnessing Princess Lydia's engagement ceremony. After the party, take some time to get together. It's been a long time after all. Lucia nodded and said yes. Her father didn't forget to tell her, by the way, I saw the Casper family's carriage outside. We'll be leaving separately, so you should go and meet the Marquis first. This made Lucia feel a bit sudden. He's already here. She gently stepped back. I'll be going then. Then she hurriedly turned and left. She said with a smile, Dear, our daughter is so beautiful today, right? The father completely agreed. Yes, she is very beautiful. At this moment, Bern was standing outside waiting. He seemed to be looking at his watch. Bern lifted his face, and his expression froze for a moment. Lucia, he praised sincerely. You look so beautiful. Lucia also answered honestly. You look very handsome today too, Bern. Bern put away his watch and said, I'm glad you're wearing the earrings I gave you. Lucia touched them shyly on an occasion like this. What else could I wear besides the earrings you gave me? The two walked toward the carriage together. I chose them after much thought. My choice was excellent. Thank you. Bern gently asked for her opinion. I'm really looking forward to this party. What about you, Lucia? Lucia began to answer. I'm also very much looking forward to it. I can see my friend from the academy. It's been a long time. The two soon arrived at the palace, the floor paved with luxurious stone tiles. When everyone saw, they couldn't help but exclaim, oh my goodness, that person is... I heard he was in the north. Herwin Nezuko's arrival stunned everyone. He's even more handsome than the rumors say. He walked in with a heroic air when suddenly someone called out, Herwin. He turned his head with a smile. She was excited to see her best friend again. You came? I thought you wouldn't. This is a national event. I can't miss it. My parents couldn't attend, so I had to come. Arista extended a hand to invite him in. Let's go, our friends are inside. She asked about recent events. So how was it? I mean the north. Herwin answered calmly. What do you mean? I just hunted monsters day and night. But Arista was full of interest. That's what I mean. What do those monsters look like? Are they strong? What kind of monsters are they? Herwin realized his friend didn't care about him. Right? That's more important to you than knowing about my well-being, isn't it? Arista looked up expectantly. The North is the only place in the Empire where monsters appear. You should know that not every swordsman can conquer monsters. Herwin just smiled faintly. He understood what Arista meant in that case. Do you want to go monster hunting with me? Her eyes lit up at these words. Can I? Herwin smiled indulgently. You're so easy to read. But she immediately pouted. What do you mean? Her gaze made him correct his words. I mean, you can't refuse anything related to swords. Your only hobby is the sword. Hearing this, she stated confidently, if you take away my sword, Arista Lydia will die. I was born with a sword in my hand. Herwin feigned surprise. To that extent, Arista confirmed confidently. That's right. So don't forget your promise to take me monster hunting. As they were chatting happily, someone shouted, Olong Herwin, Arista, some friends who had been sitting in one place for a long time. Hello, we're waiting for you. Herwin said with a smile, long time no see, everyone. They greeted her. Hello, we were waiting for you, Arista. It's your brother's engagement ceremony today. How do you feel? Arista slowly sat down and replied, what is there for me to feel? She wore a bored expression. Well, thanks to this engagement, I can temporarily escape my parents' nagging. Christine was in a similar situation. I've been troubled by this recently, too. I know they're worried because I've reached marriageable age. But Ethan crossed his arms, his mood filled with discomfort, because people around us are getting engaged one after another. Our parents are even more so. Ryan also had to nod in agreement. That's right, marriage proposal letters have started to pour in. I don't know which of us will get married first. All eyes focused on Herwin. Why is everyone looking at me? He scratched his head and replied, I just think you'll get married first. Herwin looked at Ethan and joked, can I get married alone? And I think Ethan will get married first. But his face turned pale. That would be just great. Christine sighed. If I could escape the nagging, I'd really like to go back to the academy. They reminisced about their student days. I miss it, the days at the academy. This also made Herwin think of that time, the days at the academy. Back then, Lucia would confess to him, saying every time, Herwin, I like you. But he didn't pay it much mind, I know. There was always Lucia following behind him. Are you angry? Here. As long as it wasn't a public confession, well, it must have been fun. Thinking of that, he couldn't help but smile. It must have been fun. Arista mentioned a person that surprised Herwin, but what about Lucia? Will she be coming with Lucas today? He then replied with an awkward smile. The last time I saw her was before I went on the expedition to the north. Hearing this, his friends were all jealous. You two met alone? What about us? That's right, what did you two talk about? Herwin turned his face away to avoid them. We didn't talk much. He remembered Lucia's aghast expression. At that moment, Herwin felt another pang of guilt. They didn't press him further. Oh, is that so? Then invite us next time too. Just then, Arista immediately spotted, wait, isn't that Lucia over there? She asked curiously, but who is that man walking beside her? This made Herwin have to pay attention. What? Lucia and Byrne were gradually walking towards them. She waved a friendly greeting, hello you all. But Lucia's hand slightly retracted. Lucia, with her arm linked through Byrne's, introduced them to him. They are my classmates. Byrne played along well. I see. That gesture made the group exclaim. Lucia has her arm linked with his. Are they dating? Herwin was suddenly speechless. Lucia. Lucia expressed how she missed them. It's been a long time, everyone. Arista pointed friendly. Lucia, long time no see. There's an empty seat over there. Lucia replied politely. Thank you. The two then sat down calmly. Herwin watched the two, who got along well, thoughtfully. She was curious about the person beside her. By the way, who is the person with you? Lucia introduced him without hesitation. He is the man who will become my fiancé. He politely introduced himself to everyone. I am Byrne Casper. I've heard a lot about all of you from Lucia. We'll be seeing each other often in the future. After hearing this, the four of them exchanged a meaningful look. Lucia asked in surprise, why do you all look so surprised? Isn't that a bit rude? Brian apologized in confusion. Sorry. Ethan and Christine said in unison, we apologize if we made you feel uncomfortable. Please forgive our rudeness. Marquis Casper. Lucia chuckled lightly. It's all right. It's understandable that you're surprised. We'll sit for a while longer so we can chat. They didn't mind much either. Okay, that's fine. Then Christine really wanted to know, but you two don't really have any connection. How did you meet? Arista also asked, I'm curious too. Lucia, Byrne friendly recounted the story. We met through a formal matchmaking meeting. I was late for some reason, but Lucia waited for me. He leaned towards her affectionately. Thankfully, right? I almost missed out on such a wonderful woman. This made Lucia blush. Byrne. Then Herwin coldly asked Lucia, you went on a blind date? When was that? Lucia tried hard to recall. About 3 weeks ago. His attitude became increasingly gloomy. That was when I was in the north. Lucia asked in confusion, so have you been well? Byrne then proposed to her, Lucia, would you like to go and say hello to my friends? She agreed happily in him. Okay. Lucia stood up. Everyone, please excuse us. They said their goodbyes. See you next time. Ethan was suddenly confused. You didn't hear that Lucia went on a blind date? Herwin then denied it. No, I was in the north at that time. This made him even more curious. Well, I'm still surprised she didn't tell you about it. You two have been best friends since you were kids. He just answered in a small voice. That's right. He remembered a story from their childhood. She sobbed, take care, Herwin. From the day we first met, his initial feelings for her had never changed. To me, Lucia has always been like that. At that time, he couldn't help but sob when saying goodbye too. I'll come see you again, Lucia. She stood on her tiptoes. Lucia moved closer, her eyes shining with anticipation. Remember to write to me. Even if we are far apart, this will not change. Letters were always sent constantly. I heard the snow in the north never stops. Is that right? I will come to the Peneus territory next winter. Herwin also wrote back. I'm only replying now because I was busy practicing my swordsmanship. A new teacher just arrived at the castle. From today on, we will no longer practice with wooden swords, but with real ones. Lucia also sent letters regularly. Herwin, I heard monsters have appeared in the Peneus region again. 1,000 words, the two thought back and forth like this. You're really not afraid of anything, are you? Is it because you're strong? The most scared I've ever been in my life was when I charged through a pack of wild dogs for you. So don't ever go into that forest again, Lucia. The two also gradually grew up. Time passed. We entered the academy, and I made new friends too. What place she held in his heart. But Lucia was still the most special person to me. At that time, Lucia called his name, Hey Herwin. Herwin prepared to listen, and she expressed herself without hesitation. I like you. He looked at her with an indulgent gaze. There you go again. Lucia pouted, wanting to know, why don't you answer me? Suddenly someone called out Lucia. She also replied, Bianca. She appeared at just the right moment. It's great to see you two here. Were you talking about something important or something else? Lucia answered shyly from behind. No, we weren't saying anything. Herwin crossed his arms and questioned, so what? Bianca pulled her hand. Do you want to go to the library with me? Making her hesitate. Right now, Lucia. But she didn't let go. I have so much to tell you. Let's go quickly. This made Lucia have to agree. All right. At that very moment, Herwin had always thought it wasn't from the heart. Sometimes Lucia's confessions were like a joke. I never even thought we would date because Lucia is... He saw her as an important person, too precious to be lost over something like a breakup. Deep in Herwin's heart, I always wanted to stay by Lucia's side as her one and only friend. However, that happened to him, but contrary to my wishes, Lucia sincerely spoke her heart. Herwin, I like you. Making it difficult for her to answer. On my 18th birthday, Lucia confessed to me again. She sincerely spoke her feelings from the age of 8 until now. There hasn't been a moment I wasn't sincere about you. This made him a little awkward. That confession on that day was different from other times. It didn't feel like a joke. He couldn't suppress his emotions. It made my heart race. But someone behind me was about to intervene, and if nothing had happened after that, maybe I would have accepted her feelings. A dozen people around us witnessed that confession. What was that all about? Even for childhood friends, there should be some boundaries. Lucia had to bear all the blame, and Herwin was also severely shocked. So that's why you ignored us when we asked you to introduce Herwin. It seems she had told him she liked him more than once or twice since she was 8, and he froze up. Lucia gently reached out her hand. Herwin, are you okay? And he just ran away. Lucia frantically called out for Herwin. He recalled, sadly, because of that incident, we grew distant for a while. He also avoided me at the academy because of Lucia, and that's how I found out who was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Arista asked curiously, so is she still angry? Herwin narrated while wiping his sword. She even broke the promise we made as children and is now completely avoiding me. Is that so? She wanted to try asking, you know what was said about Lucia that day? A torrent of malicious words was poured on Lucia's head. Everyone thought she was still chasing you even if you didn't like her, and some even mocked that she was rejected in the most humiliating way. But he didn't understand why Lucia did that. What was she thinking? Doing something like that in such a crowded place. You know the party was held at Bianca's mansion, right? Arista was angry, so she said it out loud. She lied to Lucia, saying the balcony area was closed to other guests. At this, Herwin was taken aback. What? Arista exposed Bianca's evil side. She knew Lucia liked you and planned to humiliate her. She even mentioned the exact time of the confession that night. He gradually felt uneasy. Bianca Lawrence actually did something like that. Arista continued. Maybe Lucia was too scared, so she didn't approach you. She said if she hadn't believed Bianca's lie, none of this would have happened. His eyes became rigid. Lucia said that. Then Herwin stood up. She was suddenly confused. Where are you going all of a sudden? Herwin blurted out sternly, I'm going to find Lucia right now. Arista liked this side of him. Okay, go and have a good talk. It was at that party, I guess it was from around that time, that I started to like Arista. We grew closer as we talked more about Lucia. He still remembered how Lucia smiled that day. Let's meet again with a smile. When he saw her walking side by side with Byrne, Lucia looked happier than before. Herwin still couldn't understand his own heart. Then why can't I smile? Lucia was under the luxurious lights of the party. Young men and women embraced tightly. Lucia sighed heavily. Byrne suddenly noticed and gently asked Lucia. She forced a smile. Yes, Byrne. He looked worried. Are you not feeling well? Lucia explained softly. I think I'm just a little nervous. Byrne said gently. You can rest for a bit before meeting my friends. But she quickly recovered her spirits. No, I want to meet them right away. Then Lucia changed the subject. What is the relationship between these friends and Byrne? He walked side by side with her, saying, we don't see each other often now, but we've been close since our academy days. He pointed his finger. They're right ahead. His gaze met the table in front, those people. Two people were gloomily complaining to each other. How's the merchant guild lately? You know how strict my father is. Byrne excitedly called out their names. Adolphe, Hector. The two were delighted when they saw Byrne appeared. Oh my God, look who it is. So you were alive after all. They hadn't expected his appearance at all. Even someone like Byrne would show up in a place like this. I was so worried because I hadn't heard anything from you. Byrne then quickly explained the situation. What's the big deal about me being here? I've been busy with inheriting the title and other things. The two suddenly noticed, but who is this beautiful lady standing next to you? Hector then suddenly reminded him. How can you be so rude to her when you've just met? Byrne happily extended his hand. Let me formally introduce you. This is Lady Agnes, my fiancée. Lucia curtsied politely. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Hector Chase. This made Adolphe have to ask again, Byrne. Are you serious? And Hector had already stood up and bowed. It's a pleasure to meet you, my lady. I am Hector Chase. Seeing this, Adolphe also stood up and did the same. I was so surprised that I was a bit rude. I am Adolphe Bailey. Lucia quickly said, It's all right. Please raise your heads. She waved her hands in confusion. Byrne said, No one else knows, so you might be very surprised. Byrne, he said, scratching his head. I didn't expect it would be Byrne of all people to bring a fiancé. Adolphe had to ask again, Byrne, had you really moved on? He nodded in confirmation. Maybe I need to pull myself together too. Hearing this, his two friends were happy for him. That's really the right decision. I'm glad you met someone good. Yeah, I'm so relieved to see you found someone to settle down with. Hector even came over to ask Lucia, My lady, he still has many shortcomings, but please take good care of him. She was still a bit awkward, yes, of course. By now, night had fallen. In that castle, starlight twinkled in the magnificent hall as young ladies and gentlemen danced hand in hand. Byrne gracefully extended his hand to her. My lady, may I have this dance? Lucia smiled happily and accepted. I would be honored. The two took each other's hands, intertwining them tightly. This perfect couple danced gracefully, swaying elegantly to the tango music. Byrne gently touched Lucia's waist, but she was a little distracted, looking behind her. Herwin was in Arista's arms, dancing together. This made her eyes seem to lose something, falling into a state of shock. Her hand holding Byrne's was trembling. He gently reminded her, pulling her back into his embrace. Lucia, look only at me. Lucia's cheeks and lips flushed red. Looking at him, she stood slightly on her tiptoes. Now she realized, thanks to Byrne, I finally feel relaxed. He cared for her meticulously. Are you feeling better now? She nodded and said, Thanks to you, Byrne. You're really so perceptive. I didn't have to say anything, and you helped me. Byrne smiled gently and blurted out, If you look closely, Lucia writes everything on her face. Lucia puffed her cheeks and asked him, Am I really that easy to read? Byrne said with a teasing smile, I told you have to look closely. And then they matched each other's steps perfectly. When it came to the part of the turn, she spoke. Byrne, she really wanted to know the reason. Why did you choose me? His words were meaningful. Because you and I are very similar. That's why I chose you, Lucia. Byrne was always concerned about her emotions. Does that answer your question? But Lucia also answered sensitively. Only half of it. I want to ask the other half. Byrne's face turned a little redder as he said softly, Thank you. Just then, someone called out to Lucia. Herwin wanted to ask her to dance. The next dance? Dance with me. For a few seconds, her eyes wavered. I always dance with Herwin at parties, so it's not strange, but today I want to avoid it. Lucia was confused by the invitation. Someone appeared and blocked the way. Sorry, but Miss Lucia seems to be unwell right now, so let's wait for the next opportunity. Byrne and Herwin looked at each other with hostile eyes. He showed a worried look and asked her, Lucia, are you really not feeling well? Lucia was a bit evasive. Yes, I'm sorry, Herwin. I think I twisted my ankle a little while dancing just now. Herwin's voice grew more flustered. What? Does it hurt a lot? Then I'll... Byrne immediately blocked him, showing his vigilance. I will take good care of her, making it difficult for Herwin to do anything. He made an excuse to leave, then we'll be going. The two left together. Byrne took Lucia to the side of Fountain, that I hope I didn't overdo it. He explained gently. It seemed you wanted to avoid Duke Nuss, so I stepped in. Lucia closed her eyes as a wave of discomfort washed over her. Was I right? He turned to get something, instructing Lucia, since we're here, let's stay a little longer. I'll go get us some drinks. Leaving Lucia there alone. Lucia looked at her reflection in the water, and no matter how much I prepared, pretending to be fine in front of everyone is harder than I thought. Suddenly, the water splashed. Lucia turned around involuntarily, and what came into view was her approaching. Bianca. Both were stunned, calling out each other's names. Lucia. Bianca, she said awkwardly. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Even Lucia turned her face away. Yes, go on. She then asked, Is anyone sitting here? Bianca felt very awkward. If not, may I sit here? She agreed coolly fine. So Bianca sat down next to Lucia. I thought I would never see her again after that day. The castle was magnificent. Time rewound to a few years ago when Lucia was engrossed in her reading. A few female classmates came over. Lucia, Lady Agnes. Lucia greeted them politely. Hello, what brings you here? They wanted to ask her to introduce Herwin. Can you introduce us to Herwin? I heard your young Lord Nussa's childhood friend. Then Lucia gently refused. I'm sorry, but Herwin is very shy. I don't think that would work. Since they couldn't get what they wanted, they spoke ill of her. Lady Agnes always refuses us. Can't you just introduce us once? Hearing those words, Lucia's hands trembled. Are you sure you're just friends? Or do you actually like Herwin? Suddenly someone jumped out and shouted, What's wrong with you two? Bianca stepped forward and criticized. You act as if Lucia is obligated to introduce you to young Lord Nuss. You don't even dare to speak to him yourselves, and now you're being so greedy. Then the two girls retorted, Bianca, are you talking back? But Bianca hit their sore spot. You don't like being ignored either, right? So don't bully someone who is quiet. At that time, Lucia had a very good impression of Bianca. From that moment on, they became friends. Bianca and I became close, like sisters, while the other girls looked at me with jealous eyes because of her, as she became my source of comfort. One day, Bianca called her Lucia. She asked in a low voice, Do you have someone you like? Lucia blushed and evaded, No, I don't. But Bianca already knew, liar. You like Herwin, don't you? Lucia covered her mouth in shock. Seeing this, she went on to comfort her. It's okay if you don't want to say it. I only asked because we're best friends. Hearing this, she was very moved, Bianca. Her heart ached a little. If it's Bianca, she won't tell my secret to others. It should be okay to tell her, right? Lucia then confessed everything. I'm sorry for lying. Actually, I do like Herwin. Bianca asked in return, really? She lowered her head slightly, but it's a secret. She asked curiously, Why do you hide it so well? Lucia shook her head and said, If those girls knew, they wouldn't stop asking me to introduce Herwin to them. I can't. I promised Herwin. Her memories gradually surfaced. What promise? I've confessed my feelings to him since I was little. I even confessed in front of others. Bianca asked again, Really? Lucia replied with a smile. So now we have a promise not to do that in public anymore. Lucia smiled bitterly. I can't control my feelings, but we've promised to just be like friends. Then her emotions became flustered. But what if Herwin likes someone else? Lucia had tried to think about that question. If you like someone else, I think I'll just stay quiet. Bianca was shocked by her answer. What? Bianca crossed her arms and gave her advice. You've been waiting for him since you were little. Of course you should take action. She blushed and scratched her cheek. Huh, is that so? Lucia still smiled brightly at Bianca's sigh. You're amazing. At that time, I only felt relieved. I had only revealed my feelings, but made me feel so much more comfortable. What was bound to happen, happened. But then Bianca started to change gradually. Bianca ran to ask her, Did you know? At this point, Lucia still didn't know. Know what? She started spreading news that Herwin liked Lady Lydia. You didn't know? You're close to both of them. Lucia asked for details. Maybe people are just saying that because they're often seen together. I've already asked Arista, and she said he doesn't like anyone. But Bianca acted as if she had to convince Lucia. Lucia, do you believe that? She smirked slyly. Lady Lydia is just playing you. Lucia was always clear-headed in any situation. That's impossible, Bianca. I trust Arista. Not long after, that incident happened. The incident that made her feel the most embarrassed. When everyone was at Herwin's birthday party, they mocked and teased, witnessing my first public confession. From that day on, Lucia was harshly criticized. I became the laughingstock of the academy. She disappeared as if she had never been there. After that, I was never able to see Bianca again. I didn't even have time to ask why. At this, she asked hesitantly, How have you been lately? She also asked about Herwin, and Herwin, are you still close with him? Or are you engaged or something? Lucia replied coldly, What are you trying to say? Why are you asking that? Are we close enough to ask such questions? Bianca's head lowered a bit, showing her embarrassment. I was just curious. I've been away from the academy and in the capital for so long, I don't know anything. She felt guilty, and tears welled up in her eyes. I've always wanted to apologize. If we ever had the chance to meet again, I'm really sorry, Lucia. Bianca made an excuse. I wasn't in my right mind back then. She shouted in anger. Then why did you do it? You were my friend. Only now did she confess the truth. The truth is, I liked Herwin too. Lucia was stunned at this moment. Is that why you did that to me? She held her face and admitted her mistake. I admit I was jealous. I've regretted it ever since. Which made her have a question loudly. I wasn't the only one who liked Herwin, so why me of all people? Bianca recalled the incident absent-mindedly. The reason I did that, and confessed something disgusting, it's because I hated you more than I hated Arista. Lucia couldn't believe her ears. What are you talking about? Bianca told her a truth, because Herwin likes you. The second shocking news reached her ears. What? Bianca repeated it again. Herwin likes you. But Lucia still didn't fully believe it. After all, what makes you say that? Herwin doesn't like me. He likes Arista, she said with a bitter smile. You don't have to lie. I've already given up on him. Since these words were spoken, both of them fell into confusion. At this, Bianca grabbed her shoulders and shook them a few times. Wait a minute. So there's nothing going on between you and Herwin? What about the engagement? I heard you were getting engaged. Lucia gently looked away. It's not like that between me and Herwin. I'm in the process of getting engaged to someone else. This left Bianca extremely shocked. Just then Byrne returned. Lucia, have I kept you waiting? I brought some drinks. He was in front of her with 2 glasses of wine. Oh, you have a guest. By the way, Lucia introduced him. This is my friend from the academy. Her name is Bianca. She curtsied politely. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Bianca Lawrence. Byrne replied politely. I am Byrne Casper. Lucia and I have recently started seeing each other with the intention of marriage. He gently handed the wine glass to Lucia. Lucia, let's have a drink first, she said. Thank you, Byrne. The two held hands very affectionately. Are you feeling better? Yes. Witnessing this, Bianca was at a loss for words, feeling like she was intruding on the two of them, that I should probably head back to the banquet hall now. As she turned to leave, Lucia called out to her, Wait, Bianca. She handed the glass of wine back to him. Byrne, I'll be back after I see Bianca off. Byrne also agreed. Okay. Bianca turned around and asked, Why did you come over? I'm fine going back alone. Lucia wanted to speak frankly. I need to talk to you clearly. She still didn't seem to understand what she was going on about. Everything you thought during our student days was just a misunderstanding. Lucia's voice became low. It's ridiculous that Herwin likes me. Besides, I've already given up on Herwin. Bianca only said one thing. Looking at this, it seems you don't know anything. If the person involved still doesn't know, then maybe I was wrong. And finally gave her a wish. I hope your choice is the right one. Goodbye. Lucia stood outside, her mind in a daze. What? The castle was still so brilliant in the night. Lucia returned home and was combing her own hair. By the time she came back and sat with Byrne, she had already started to worry about many things. He must have noticed that my mood worsened after Bianca came. If he asked me what's wrong, what should I say? Byrne spoke up at just the right moment. Lucia, let's go home early today. Lucia was very surprised by Byrne's perceptiveness. You don't have to do this for my sake, he said with a smile, because I'm worried about you. After all, a lot happened at the party today. For a minute, she felt a warmth burn. Lucia smiled and gave him her most sincere thanks. Thank you for not pressing me to say what happened. He really cares if I'm with this person. Suddenly, there was a knock on her door. Come in. Lucas entered the room and asked, You're not asleep yet? Meanwhile, she didn't quite understand. Yes, what is it? He showed his concern. I didn't see you at the party, so I was worried, but she didn't want to bring it up. I wasn't feeling well, so I came home early. Then Lucia asked in return, You could say the same. This is the first time in a long while you come home on time. So why are you home early? He didn't hide it and answered, I was on my way home after hearing you had a partner. So she stood up and said to him, It seems this will be a long conversation. Let's go sit over there. This time Lucas asked her seriously, You're not really planning to get engaged to Marquis Casper, are you? Lucia then found it strange. Byrne and I are still in the stage of getting to know each other. Why are you suddenly asking about an engagement? His face and attitude were a bit guilty. I thought you weren't in an age to be thinking about marriage yet. If you don't have someone you like, just wait a little longer, Lucia. But the next word surprised him. I understand that our parents are anxious because I'm not getting married, but actually, the blind date with Byrne was my decision. Lucas tried to ask again, Really? Lucia's eyes no longer looked straight at him. Brother, while you were working in the duchy, a lot of things happened in the capital. Lucas wanted to know more clearly. What happened that made you suddenly go on a blind date? She placed her hand on her chest and confessed. Actually, I used to like someone. I confessed to him many times, but I was rejected every time. Lucas was curious about how many times. She estimated about 100 times. He shot up in anger. He rejected you as many as 100 times. But Lucia still said gently, "My parents were by my side and witnessed me being rejected by him as many as 100 times, so they came up with the idea of a blind date. And I went to give up on him." Then Lucas sat down calmly. "So do you like Marquis Casper, whom you're seeing now?" She told him frankly, "It's hard to say I like him right away, but we communicate well." His hand clenched a little, feeling a bit sorry for his sister. "Lucia, I just hate the situation you're in, having to get to know someone you don't even like on the premise of an engagement." Hearing this, Lucia became even more gloomy. He tried to correct his words of course, I'm only saying this because I want you to be happy." Lucas was already twisting his arm, wanting to throw a few punches at that person. "Who is this person who rejected you 100 times from the start? I'm curious how great he is. If he's just a nobody, Lucia immediately revealed, "It's someone you know, brother." Lucas was taken aback. "What? Who is it?" The answer left Lucas stunned. "That it's Herwin. Herwin Nias." Fury burned through him. "The one who rejected your confession so many times was Herwin Nias?" Lucia put on a bored expression. "You knew I liked Herwin." He rubbed his head, seemingly unable to believe it. "I just didn't think you'd still like Herwin after graduating from the academy." Lucia smiled and advised, "So brother, for my sake, you should marry the one you love." Lucas reluctantly accepted. "All right, I promise." "So Lucia, you promise me too." Lucas will always be her support. You have to be happy no matter what. If you're having a hard time, tell me. She smiled and promised, "Okay, I will." A few more days passed. The table was piled with letters, making her have to ask her mother, "Are all these invitations for me?" She spoke to confirm, "That's right. It seems the news that Marquis Casper is courting you has spread to everyone." Hearing this, Lucia didn't understand what it had to do with the Casper family. Her mother explained that high society is always very interested in couples who are about to get married, and emphasized the importance of the two families, not to mention that both the Agnes family and the Marquis of Casper's family are respected, thus drawing more attention. She showed her discomfort. These parties definitely won't be comfortable, right? Then I don't want to go." She understood her daughter's meaning. "So you only need to attend a few parties. In that case, I will narrow it down to the occasions you must attend, those places you have to go, all right?" She had already arranged them neatly. "Go to this one first, then that one." "What's this?" She noticed the blue letter with familiar handwriting. The letter read, "Lucia, if you don't mind, I'd like to invite you to a gathering. I'll wait for your reply." After reading the letter, Lucia exclaimed happily, "There's one place I want to go to first." Then she asked, "Whose invitation is it?" Lucia showed it to her mother. "It's from Christine. She hasn't gathered everyone in a long time. Will Herwin be there?" She then said happily, "No, it's just a girls' gathering this time." Her mother breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, is that so? That's great." She had already selected a few envelopes. "These are the invitations to the parties you should really attend. I'll separate the ones you can safely skip." "Thank you, mother." Outside, the sun shone brightly into the courtyard. The butler led the way, saying, "I will escort you to the VIP room Miss Christine has booked." Lucia opened the door and greeted them friendly. "Girls, it's been a long time, hasn't it? Sorry, I'm a little late." Inside, Arista and Christine had already arrived. "Come on in, Lucia. We just got here too." Lucia slowly sat down in her chair and then asked something. "Christine, is this the new place you mentioned?" She smiled with satisfaction and said, "Yes, my father gave me full authority to run it this time." Arista started to tease her. "So the girls' gathering was just an excuse. This is the real reason you invited us, isn't it?" Christine was a little annoyed. "Of course not. I only invited the two of you, so we could chat intimately and comfortably." She puffed out her chest confidently. "So it's my treat today. Order whatever you want." This made the other two clap and cheer. Wow. The party was filled with delicious and tempting food. The ladies were all looking forward to her blind date stories. Come on, Lucia. Tell us how you met Marquis Byrne." "That's right. Tell us the story of the blind dates." Lucia began to recount with a hint of annoyance. "The first guy was a complete failure." She recalled the dirty words. "Actually, I already have someone in my heart, but unfortunately she's a commoner, so we can't get married." Hearing this, the ladies couldn't help but exclaim, "Wait, he suddenly admitted to having another woman?" The two of them shouted, "How rude." Lucia continued gloomily. "The second and third ones weren't any better. It was as if they saw us as breeding machines and objects to be taken at will. One told me I had to take care of his mother-in-law, and another started planning for children right away." As she said this, she felt a chill dough. "I can't stand those guys." Arista also commented, "At first, hearing that Marquis Casper was late gave a bad impression, but compared to the guys before him, he wasn't so bad." Lucia also commented, at least Bernard admitted his mistake and made a formal apology. So much so that Christine had to sigh, I think it's really lucky to have met Marquis Casper. Lucia agreed, yeah. She now asked Lucia seriously, are you really okay? Lucia answered calmly, I'm just facing it a little earlier than you two. It's something I have to face sooner or later. Both of them were happy for her. That's great, Lucia. I really can't imagine going on a blind date. Lucia also reminded them, you two should start preparing too. Hasn't your family mentioned engagement yet? Christine tried to evade. I'm still pretending not to notice, but it wouldn't be strange if I get dragged to a blind date one day. Then Lucia asked a question. If you were to go on a blind date, what kind of person would you want to meet? She simply requested, as long as he doesn't interfere with my work, that's enough. But Arista was a bit hesitant. Well, for me, I want a truly happy marriage, because that's the person I'll spend the rest of my life with. I hope that person is someone I love. Christine also asked, oh my, then who does Arista like? But Arista was still happily single. No one right now. This answer made her face fall. Ah, is that so? I got my hopes up for nothing. Arista burst out laughing. What would you do if I told you? Then she teased a little. I thought you were going to say you'd marry your sword. What? Even if I love my sword, I would never say that. As the ladies chatted and laughed, Lucia was lost in thought again. Who does Arista like? She was thinking about her. Who could that person be? A smile appeared on Lucia's lips. Lucia said to her sincerely, Arista, if it's you, I think you'll definitely be able to marry the person you truly love. Lucia expressed earnestly, so, when you fall in love with someone, promise me you'll tell them. Maybe they feel the same way about you. Arista accepted the idea. Thank you, Lucia. I will. As for Christine, she was also very happy today. I'm so glad we had a girls-only party where we could talk about love as much as we want. The ladies all agreed. That's right. She wanted to say something. So Christine suggested a topic. Since we've heard enough about marriage, how about we talk about Marquis Casper now? But Lucia repeated, we've already talked about Bern. This time Christine was interested in her parents. What do your parents say? Lucia calculated the time a bit. I haven't introduced him to my parents yet. He's planning to visit the Agnes mansion soon. So maybe by then. The two were surprised to hear that Marquis Casper was visiting the Agnes mansion. Really? Lucia replied happily. Yes, I invited him for lunch in a few days. A few more days passed, and the two were intimately drinking tea and enjoying cake. This fragrance is so lovely, Bern. For some reason, seeing these flowers reminds me of you. Lucia blushed and said her thanks. Thank you. Bern smiled and complimented. They really suit you. She handed the bouquet to Sane and said, Sane, please put them in my room. Then Bern expressed his thoughts. Actually, I didn't expect you to invite me to your home. I thought your family might be here too. Is no one home? Only she was home. Yes, my parents are away on business, and my brother is out for a while too. Lucia noticed her poor hospitality. I'm sorry they're not here when you came. They were all looking forward to meeting you. Bern replied happily. Hearing that makes me feel much more at ease. I was worried before, wondering if they wouldn't accept me. Lucia quickly denied it. No, actually, I invited you today for a reason, Bern. She wanted to hear Bern's opinion. I've received a lot of invitations recently, and I'd like you to give me some advice on some of them. He looked at the invitations, puzzled. Oh my, are these all invitations? She nodded in confirmation. Yes, I guess mentioning the engagement at parties recently has had some effect. Bern had to admit, even 10 people wouldn't be enough to attend all of these. Then he thought for a moment. Bern pushed some letters aside. Don't go to these places. Our family doesn't get along with them. To be honest, you won't be welcome there. He gave her the green light. But you'll benefit from attending these, Lucia. She was ready to accept. Thank you. You've helped me understand a lot. He smiled and replied, No, I should be thanking you for letting me know in advance. I sometimes receive invitations like these too. Is there anything in particular to watch out for? Lucia waved her hand. Not really. She placed her hand on her chest. Would it be too much to ask if I said this would fulfill my wish? At this, Bern was a bit stunned. She confessed everything. I think you already know the rumors about me. But the reason I'm saying this is because people's words, from mere curiosity to ridicule, all pour out. Lucia's voice grew lower. I'm used to that kind of thing, but you, Bern. He took her hand and pulled her in his arms. Lucia, that's not your fault. Bern said gently, so you don't need to feel guilty. She was somewhat surprised, Bern. The most wonderful words were spoken by Bern himself. I chose you, Lucia, because I want you. Other people's words won't change that. This left her bewildered. Lucia smiled brightly, moved. Burn, you're such a sincere person. You haven't asked anything until now because you care about me, right? She felt very happy. Thank you. Thanks to you, I feel much better now. Burn thought so too. That's a relief. Then Lucia mentioned one more thing. Last time you said you chose me because I'm like you, right? Yes. Burn nodded. That's right. She said with some dejection, no matter how I think about it, I still don't understand how I'm like you. There's still many things I can't tell you. Burn loosened his grip on her hand slightly. I have things I'm hiding too. I'm not as upright and honest as you think. But Lucia took his hand again. I don't know what you're hiding. She was ready to listen to everything from him, but I hope that one day you'll be able to tell me everything. Burn replied gently, me too. The two understood each other's hearts. Meanwhile, Herwin was focused on his practice. Swordsmanship. His body was all muscle as he practiced relentlessly. Jerome crossed his arms and asked with concern, how many hours has it been? He took a glove out of his pocket. Young master, it's been 3 hours. Herwin, drenched in sweat, turned around. What? He slowly approached. Had he been training too hard these days? Is something bothering you recently, young master? Jerome handed him a handkerchief. Please take a break. Herwin wiped the sweat from his cheek. Damn it. He tried to ask, young master, has something been bothering you lately? He tried to evade. It's nothing. Jerome blurted out with worry. Then look at us. The atmosphere in the entire mansion is gloomy because you've been in a bad mood lately and have been practicing your sword for hours like a madman. Herwin glared at him and asked, so you think I'm like a madman? He then realized, I guess I've seemed that way lately. He tried to coax Herwin. Young master, you're not angry, are you? Anyway, if something is bothering you, you can tell me. Herwin's voice was hesitant. There's something I want to ask you. It's not about me. It's about a friend of mine. Jerome was curious. Your friend? Who is it? Young Master Brian? Ethan? Or Lucia? Herwin denied them all. A friend you don't know. He was setting up a hypothetical for this non-existent friend. He has a childhood friend. That childhood friend confessed to him many times, but my friend rejected her again and again. Herwin's face was very gloomy, but a few days ago, that childhood friend suddenly brought a fiancé. Jerome chuckled. Sounds like a story I'm very familiar with. He reasoned, isn't that a good thing for your friend? The childhood friend who liked him finally fell for someone else. Suddenly, both of them fell silent. He remembered the scene of having to face Burn again, and oh, far from being good, I'm even more confused. Herwin gradually didn't know where to begin. I mean, my friend. Jerome started to act it out. Why would he be confused? He's the one who rejected her. And Herwin's face was still blank. I don't understand. His face became serious. That friend rejected the confession. The childhood friend brought a fiancé, and now your friend is confused. Why is it so complicated? Herwin was setting up a persona for the fake friend. He doesn't seem happy at all. Jerome suddenly had an idea. Oh, then maybe he feels hurt now. Herwin took note of the word hurt. He slowly analyzed. Yes, if they're childhood friends, they must have been very close since they were young and knew everything about each other. But one day, that person suddenly brings a fiancé. Just like Herwin's mood right now. So, he feels they're no longer as close as they used to be. Jerome said, as if affirming, he also feels abandoned because he wasn't told about the engagement sooner. It must be that. Herwin also agreed, maybe you're right. Herwin connected all the dots. If he has feelings for her, then he went crazy. That's impossible. Jerome felt something was completely off. Oh, why are you suddenly yelling? You didn't say you were talking about yourself, did you? And Herwin was even more incredulous. Anyway, that's impossible. His hand loosened its grip on the sword. Then he turned to leave. I'm going to take a bath now. Jerome muttered from behind. He's in a worse state after our talk. On the table were a glass of water and a letter. His feet slowly moved toward the outside. He kept thinking about one thing. Am I hurt because of Lucia? Herwin picked up the glass and took a sip of water. Hurt. He slammed the glass down on the table. There was a hint of sadness in Herwin's eyes. Speaking of which, I still haven't given this to her. Those emerald earrings, they would suit Lucia so well. But the thought of the scene where she turned and left. I'll be leaving first. He laughed unconsciously. I bought them to surprise her, but I didn't get the chance because she left in such a hurry that day. He told himself, those earrings don't suit her. The ones I chose are much better. Herwin rubbed his head. What am I thinking? He had a headache from his own thoughts that this feeling also being hurt. The scene from the party that day kept replaying in Herwin's mind. Meanwhile, at a noble's party, Lucia felt uncomfortable. I'm more worried than I thought. I came here because I heard it's an emerging family and they're close to the Casper family. But she had no interest at all. This kind of gathering is really not comfortable at all. Laren gave her a little guidance. Lucia, are you ready to introduce yourself? She was startled and replied yes. She curtsied sincerely. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I am Lucia Agnes. Everyone welcomed her too. Welcome, Miss Agnes. You look so young and have already reached the age to enter this social circle. This was followed by a bunch of back and forth pleasantries. I heard many young ladies were aiming for Marquis Casper, but I didn't expect the one by his side to be Miss Agnes. Lucia smiled faintly. The winner? Isn't that a bit of an exaggeration? They whispered behind their hands. I can see that many other young ladies are very jealous of you. These words stung her heart like golden needles. Celine sat beside her without saying a word. Lucia was completely stunned. They are really looking at me with hostility. In any case, I can't let myself look weak. Laren then worried for her. I think you will face more jealousy and envy from now on. What do you plan to do? What can I do? It's not my fault for having such an outstanding fiancé. Lucia showed an optimistic smile. I guess I have to accept it as fate and try to live with it. She was about to take a sip of tea. Fate? Well, if you're planning to marry such a remarkable person, that kind of determination is indeed necessary. The lady sitting next to her smiled and praised. Miss, you are very strong for your young age. That's a good way of thinking. Lucia could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. It seems these ladies are satisfied with my answer. She watched everyone chatting and talking and made an excuse to go for a walk. Miss Laren, your garden is so beautiful. May I take a look? Laren didn't make it difficult for her. Please, go ahead, Mississippi. Thank you. Once outside, she breathed a sigh of relief. Miss Laren is very nice, but I'm tired just thinking about dealing with those people. I need to relax my mind. As she was walking, Lucia saw something unusual and turned around. Celine had been following her since who knows when. She started a conversation, asking, "Are you Miss Lucia Agnes?" Lucia nodded. "Yes, I am Lucia Agnes, and you are?" She was still extremely shy. "Please forgive me for not introducing myself." She said sweetly, "I am Celine J." "No, it's Lamarillo." Lucia was willing to help. "All right, how can I help you?" Celine asked softly. "Are you really Marquis Casper's fiancé?" Lucia confirmed again. "We're not officially engaged yet." The next sentence almost made Celine fall, but there was a promise made before. Lucia then asked, "So, does that answer your question?" She could tell right away, this person likes burn. Lucia thus sidestepped and prepared to walk away. "If there's nothing else, I'll return to my seat." But she still held her back. "Wait." Lucia's voice became sharper. "What else do you want to ask?" She shouted. "I want to ask if Byrne has mentioned anything about me." Hearing this, Lucia pulled her hand away. She lowered her head shyly and said, "No." "What am I saying? Please forget what I just said." She just kept crying. Lucia felt very awkward. This is really uncomfortable because she reminds me of my former self. But I can't comfort her either. Then Lucia left without paying her any more mind. Meanwhile, in another room, a long sigh was heard. Harry sighed, guessing his friend's mood. "What is it again? What is it this time?" He pretended nothing was wrong. "It's nothing." He laughed and said, "Stop sighing and just tell me what's wrong." After a long while, Lucas finally spoke up and asked, "Have you seen Marquis Casper anywhere?" He immediately replied, "No." But Lucas didn't believe him. "Don't answer so casually. Think again, are you sure?" This made Eris furious. "I'm not sure. But if you don't get back to work soon, I'll dock your pay." His hand holding the pen trembled non-stop. "If it's Marquis Casper, I've seen him a few times for work, but I don't know much about him. He even had to repeat himself. I swear I must have seen him somewhere." Eris still didn't understand his intention. "What is it this time? What are you trying to dig up?" Lucas's face became gloomy with all sorts of calculations. "You know, Lucia, who is occasionally with Marquis Casper?" Eris asked, which made Lucas nearly go crazy. That Marquis Casper occasionally dates Lucia. Eris started teasing him again. What is sister complex? What did Marquis Casper do wrong? But Lucas still couldn't remember, as if something was missing. "No, it's just that every time I see or hear about him, I feel like I've seen him somewhere. Maybe at the academy or something." Eris sorted through the documents. "Anyway, I still feel like I've heard something somewhere. Get back to work." "All right, I understand you're worried, but I graduated so long ago, I don't remember anything." But he still only thought about that one thing. "Is Becky here?" Eris then said, "Go see her." Just then, there was a noise from outside. The butler came in to announce, "Sir, an assistant named Becky is here to see you." Lucas immediately stood up. "Becky's here." Eris snorted, "Go see her." Lucas smiled and said, I'll deal with this pile of work later. Lucas said happily, "You're the best boss." But Eris was extremely annoyed. "I really have to dock that guy's pay." Lucas ran out quickly. Becky said in a sweet voice, "Darling." The two embraced with their arms linked. "What are you doing here?" "Just missed you. I brought some cookies while thinking of you." Lucas was overjoyed to receive them. "Did you bring these especially for me?" She was also happy. "But I have to go now. I have another appointment." Lucas held her hand and walked her to the main gate. "Becky, I'll see you to the gate." Lucas still didn't forget to ask, Becky, do you know anything about Marquis Casper?" She asked curiously, "Why are you suddenly asking about him?" He answered honestly, "He might be getting engaged to my sister, but he gives off a strangely familiar feeling." Becky was curious. "Really?" He showed a worried expression. "Because he's my sister's fiancé, and you know there are some strange nobles recently." Lucas was very worried about Lucia, for example, cheating even when engaged to someone else. Becky nodded. "That's right." He also thought, well, no secret can be kept forever in this world. If I really want to find out, I'll definitely be able to. At this, Becky was startled. Her eyes were filled with insidious thoughts. "Lucas, shall I help you investigate Marquis Casper?" The carriage carrying Herwin came to a stop. He got out of the carriage and asked, "You've arrived. Sorry to keep you waiting." Arista replied politely, "It's all right. I just got here too." "But what's wrong? Why did you suddenly ask to meet?" Herwin answered as he walked, "I just felt very stuffy today." He suddenly sighed heavily. Seeing him like this, Arista asked curiously, "What's wrong? You don't look well." Herwin suddenly turned away and denied it. "It's nothing." She then teased, "Really? You're being too casual." But the words that followed were incredibly sincere. "I don't know what happened, but if you want to talk about it later, just let me know. I'm always here to listen." A warmth spread through Herwin's heart. "Thank you, Arista." He thought to himself, "Every time I see Arista, I feel at ease. It's pleasant to be with her. I learn a lot from her, and she's the only one who shares my interests. If she were to say she was marrying a stranger, I would be very sad. That means she's special." At this thought, Herwin's steps suddenly halted. Recalling Lucia and Burn's relationship, he had an epiphany. "I see. Lucia is also a very special person, which is why when I heard the news of the engagement, I felt a little sad." The knot in his heart had an answer, and Herwin smiled. "Yes, that must be it." Suddenly, Arista noticed. "What are you thinking about? If you have a lot of pocket money, then buy me a dagger." Herwin was a little curious. "A dagger?" She explained without any embarrassment. "My father has been complaining lately, telling me to stop buying weapons. If I say it's a gift from you, he won't force me to throw it away anymore." A look of resignation appeared on Herwin's face. "The Duke is the same as ever." Arista continued with a wry smile. "He's hated my swordsmanship practice since I was a child. Now that I'm of marriageable age, he's even stricter about it. But I won't give up. I will become a swordmaster." Seeing her firm determination, Herwin nodded in agreement. "Then I'll give you a long sword, not a dagger." Arista's eyes immediately sparkled like stars. "Are you serious?" "I won't refuse." He managed a smile and answered earnestly. Elsewhere, Burn and Lucia were walking together. Burn looked at her, a little embarrassed. "I could have come alone, but I think you have a better eye than I do." Lucia smiled politely. "I'm always happy to help you with this kind of thing." Suddenly, a clerk ran out to greet them. "Welcome. We've just received a new piece of jewelry, perfect for a handsome couple like you. Are you two here to choose an engagement ring?" Burn forced a smile and explained, "No, I'm just here today to pick out a gift for my mother. Her birthday is in less than a week." Realizing his mistake, the clerk quickly changed the subject. "Ah, I see. I'll show you the way immediately." Burn didn't forget to be considerate of Lucia. "We'll come back here next time to choose our engagement rings, Lucia." She nodded in agreement. "It's a deal, Burn." A moment later, the clerk brought out a selection of items. These are all high-quality gems and are the most popular styles among middle-aged nobles right now. Which one do you like best? Burn looked them over but still couldn't decide. Just then, Lucia spoke up to help him. "His mother likes the color blue, so could you show us some gems with blue tones?" The clerk smiled warmly. "Of course. Please wait a moment." After he left, Burn turned to her and asked softly, "You remember my mother's preference?" She smiled. "Of course I remember." Burn was very grateful for her words. "Actually, I wasn't planning on asking for your help, Lucia. We aren't officially engaged yet, so asking you to pick a gift for my mother felt a bit premature. But I'm glad I did. You have a better eye than I do." Lucia chuckled, covering her mouth. "I'm happy I could help." Suddenly, Burn added another piece of information. "And we're not planning to hold a birthday party this year. Lucia was a little surprised. Oh, why? A shadow of sadness crossed his eyes. It's been a year since my father passed away, and my mother is still very heartbroken. Hearing this, Lucia blushed and lowered her head. I'm sorry for asking such a sensitive question. He quickly reassured her. It's all right. It's not a secret. Lucia lifted her face, her eyes sincere. I was wondering if I could send her flowers on her birthday. Burn's eyes widened in surprise. Flowers? She quickly explained her intention. Yes, after all, this day only comes once a year. I want to do something that might make her even a little bit happier. Burn paused for a moment, then smiled. I'm sure Mother would be very grateful. Lucia was glad he agreed. I'm happy I can do something. The shop door was suddenly pushed open, and a voice followed. I told you it wasn't necessary. Another person hurriedly stopped them. This is to thank you for promising me the sword. And just like that, the couple, Lucia and Burn, ran into Herwin and Arista. Arista was excited to see her. Lucia was taken aback when she saw who was in front of her. Arista? Herwin? Not noticing Lucia's reaction, she ran over. What are you two doing here? Did we interrupt your date? She forced a smile and answered casually. Not at all. I'm here helping to pick out a birthday present for the Duchess. Arista turned to greet Burn. Hello, Marquis Casper. He replied politely as well. It's my pleasure, Miss Lydia. Just then, Herwin came up from behind. Hello, Lucia. Burn noticed that Lucia's mood seemed a little displeased. She tried to change the subject. What about you two? What are you doing here? Don't tell me you just happened to walk into the same shop. Arista was about to answer. Ah, well, but Herwin answered for her coldly. We're shopping together. A flicker of sadness passed through Lucia's eyes. I see. Enjoy your shopping. Arista suddenly suggested. Or, why don't we look around together? Lucia immediately turned to Burn, as if asking for help. I don't mind. What about you, Burn? He seemed to miss her meaning again. This is a great chance to get to know your friends. Lucia glanced at the other person again. Herwin's strange smile was her answer. I like that too. And so, the couple began to pick out items together. The clerk kept introducing the items. This one is a sapphire, and this one over here is... Lucia wasn't paying much attention, constantly glancing to the other side. Arista was trying on a new pair of earrings. What do you think? Herwin looked at her gently. It suits you perfectly. Lucia's heart skipped a beat. It seems Herwin is picking out a gift for Arista. The two of them look so happy together. That's right, because they like each other. Suddenly, Burn pulled her out of her thoughts. Lucia? Lucia was startled. He asked, holding a necklace. Would you like to try this on? She stammered in response. Me? Following that, Burn helped her put it on. I still can't speak, just looking at the necklace. Lucia was somewhat surprised and speechless. Burn stroked his chin and studied it for a moment. It really suits you. With that, he made his decision. Please wrap up the emerald necklace we were looking at earlier, and I'll take the one she's wearing as well. Lucia wanted to stop Burn, but Burn explained sincerely. It suits you so well that I couldn't just ignore it. Besides, you helped me so much today. She was once again lost in confusion. Lucia suddenly remembered the emerald. What about the gift? He waved his hand and answered quickly. He said it will be delivered to the residence on the agreed date. She suggested happily. Oh, then can I treat you to dinner? I want to thank Burn for buying me the necklace today. I just want to show my gratitude. Burn also responded politely. Then I will gratefully accept and escort you home. Just then, Arista walked over. Lucia, are you leaving now? She nodded quickly. Yes, we're going to have dinner. Hearing this, she turned to Herwin. Really? What about you, Herwin? He gave Arista a meaningful glance. If you're hungry, how about we have dinner together? Arista spoke to Lucia on his behalf. Then let's have dinner together. Hearing this, she was a bit awkward. Arista turned to Burn, who was standing next to her. Of course, if Marquis Casper doesn't mind. He seemed casual about it. I have no problem with it. Once the plan was set, she called out to Herwin. Great. Herwin, let's go. He replied calmly. Okay. As they went, Arista chattered nonstop at her ear. Where are we going for dinner? Lucia suggested. There's a very good restaurant nearby. I think we should go there. As she said this, she suddenly paused. Right. That's a place I've been to with Herwin before. I must be overthinking it. Herwin probably won't mind. Arista was sharp and noticed her unusual expression. What's wrong? Is something the matter? Lucia smiled to cover it up. No, I was just thinking you must be hungry. Let's get going. A moment later, the four of them had arrived at the restaurant. Arista scanned the room and then commented, Wow, the style of this place is really beautiful. This is my first time here. Have you been here before, Herwin? Herwin answered briefly and listlessly. Yeah, I've been. The atmosphere and the food are good here. Lucia looked at him with concern. I've been overthinking about having been here before. To avoid awkwardness, she turned to Burn. Burn, have you decided what to order? He nodded, holding the menu. Yes, I've already chosen. Take your time. She took the menu, thinking about how the dish Herwin ordered last time was very delicious. Byrne had already noticed her strange behavior. He suddenly spoke up. If you're having trouble choosing, would you like me to recommend something? How about the mushroom steak? That seems to be the signature dish of this restaurant. Looking at the mushroom dish, Lucia's heart sank. Byrne doesn't know I can't eat mushrooms, she stated softly. I can't eat mushrooms. Byrne scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time. Seeing his awkwardness, she smiled brightly. It's all right. I'll just choose something else. Suddenly, a gloomy voice spoke up. You don't even know what your fiancé can't eat. The words made Byrne take notice. Herwin took the menu and continued without looking at him. You should at least remember that she can't eat mushrooms. If she does, she'll be sick for 2 days. Arista remembered as well. Right, I forgot. Byrne immediately turned to Lucia. That a big problem. Not wanting to embarrass him, she helped him out. That's something I can avoid by being careful. With that, Byrne also instructed, if there's anything else you can't eat, just tell me. She replied obediently. Okay. Just then, Herwin interjected again. Lucia, you should have told me sooner what you can't eat. Byrne beat his chest, admitting his mistake. No, I should have been more careful. Seeing this, Lucia comforted him. Don't worry, I won't let it happen again. Arista ended the argument. Then I'll order you a steak without mushrooms. I'll try the mushroom steak this time. She nodded as if grasping a lifeline. Okay, she turned to Herwin. Herwin, what are you having? He closed his eyes uncomfortably. I'll have the same as you. Lucia blurted out. That's what you ordered last time. Byrne's eyes widened in surprise. You've been here with Prince Herwin before? She explained, flustered. Yes, I should have said so sooner. Byrne smiled. It's all right. We've only known each other for 2 months. There are still many things I don't know and need to learn. Lucia felt she was always being protected. Yes, Byrne. Arista and Herwin watched the happy couple before them. She secretly glanced at the young man beside her. But in the end, the meal went smoothly. During the meal, Byrne asked softly, Lucia, besides mushrooms, is there anything else you can't eat? She paused and looked at him. No, just that. Actually, I didn't mention the mushrooms because I was afraid I'd seem picky, but I should have said something sooner. I'm slowly growing up, so I need to change that. Byrne placed his fork on his plate. I understand that feeling. I'm a picky eater too. Lucia felt a little interested. Really? He slowly picked up a piece of carrot. I really hate carrots. She was shocked to see him eat it. You hate carrots? Byrne swallowed gently and nodded. He said with difficulty, this thing is really hard to swallow. I'm not allergic like Lucia, but no matter how old I get, I still can't eat carrots. I tried eating it to see if I could, but maybe I still can't. So we both have things we can't eat. We're not so different, right? Lucia smiled at always being understood. Byrne, she thought to herself, I was worried for nothing. He only ate the carrot to prove a point. Arista reminded him comfortably. But don't force yourself next time. Your face turned pale after you ate it. Byrne laughed out loud. Did it? Only Herwin remained absent-minded and paid no attention, just constantly stirring the food on his plate. Then he stopped. During the meal, a young man suddenly approached. Sir, please forgive me for interrupting your meal. Byrne immediately turned his head. What is it? He hesitated. The thing is. Then he whispered something in his ear that made Byrne gasp and his face fall. What? I'm sorry. I have an urgent matter to attend to, so I must leave first. Lucia tilted her head at him. It's all right, you should go. Byrne bowed politely. Then please excuse me. Watching his retreating back, she thought. Byrne looked really shocked. I hope it's nothing serious. Arista patted her stomach happily. That was a delicious meal. Lucia stood up and offered. I'll pay. But she noticed the food on Herwin's plate. Arista asked him directly. Why didn't you eat anything? It was delicious. Herwin answered casually. I don't have an appetite. Lucia asked him with concern. You're not sick, are you? Herwin stood up, his expression unchanged. It's not that, don't worry. Seeing that everything was fine, she suggested. Then let's go. The restaurant door was opened. Lucia walked out first, then turned around. Are you two going home now? Herwin avoided her gaze. We don't have any specific plans. Arista also said out of habit. Me neither. Wait, no. I was repeatedly reminded to go home early today. Lucia hurried over to comfort her. It's okay, it's still early, so it's not too late. Her expression twisted. Really? I'll be going then. Lucia watched her leave and smiled. That Arista. With that, she turned to Herwin. Herwin, you're going home right away too, right? Arista's already gone. He didn't know what to say other than a soft I should go home. A few seconds later, he turned to leave. However, he was pulled back by Lucia's voice. Wait, Herwin, are you sure you're not sick? Herwin turned around quickly. I said I'm not. Lucia's eyes couldn't hide her worry. But you didn't eat anything at the restaurant, and you seem very emotional. He started asking strange questions. So you're worried about me? I thought you didn't care about me at all. Lucia looked somewhat surprised. What are you talking about? Of course I care about you. We're friends, after all. If you're not sick, is something bothering you? Herwin didn't understand her. Bothering me? Lucia nodded slowly. Yes, you even shook hands with Byrne. That's not like you at all. Herwin clicked his tongue and replied. Yeah, I did that. Lucia teased him. You say that as if it wasn't you. Suddenly, Herwin's voice became subdued. I mean, Marquis Casper. I don't know. Something feels off. Lucia froze. Byrne? About Byrne, I think he's a good person. You saw it too. He even ate the carrots he hates for my sake. Byrne is really good to me. He accepts someone flawed like me. Herwin's brow furrowed slightly. Flawed? He grabbed her hand abruptly. Why you put yourself down like that? Lucia was slightly startled and found it hard to look at him. She wondered, shouldn't I? What was it that made her feel inferior? Herwin, I like you. I confessed to you many times. And Herwin's answer was, I refuse, because you rejected me every time. But I don't blame you, Herwin, because now I have Byrne. Without lingering, Lucia quickly started walking. Get home safely, Herwin. He watched her. You too. Then Lucia boarded the carriage. Herwin desperately wanted to tell her the truth. He lowered his head, thinking. Just as the coachman announced, I'm ready to depart. Herwin stepped forward and stopped him. Wait. He gently knocked on the carriage door. Lucia, I need to talk to you for a moment. She immediately opened the door. What is it, Herwin? Herwin lowered his head and said softly. It's just, I'll be honest, I'm not in a good mood today. Lucia looked at him with concern. I see. Is it because of me? He shook his head in denial. It's not that. It's just that hearing a childhood friend is about to get engaged has made my emotions complicated. And through an arranged meeting, no less. I thought you'd never do something like that. Although Lucia smiled, her heart ached. I thought doing that would help me forget you, but of course, you'd never know how I feel. She made up an excuse. I'm an adult now, so naturally, I'm different from when I was at the academy. Hearing this, Herwin nodded. I suppose so. She let out a small laugh as well. So now I want you to support me. Herwin asked, confused. Support? Lucia looked at him gently. Support me in getting along well with Byrne. We're friends, right? Because of those words, Herwin paused. Then Lucia closed the carriage door and said, I have to go. You should go home too before it gets too late. He just nodded, and then watched her leave in silence. The carriage gradually moved away. Herwin wondered, support? He turned and walked in the opposite direction. Herwin muttered with a gloomy heart. Lucia didn't say anything wrong, so why is it so hard to accept? Meanwhile, at the Marquis Casper's residence, Byrne eagerly asked a maid, Where's my mother? She bowed and reported, She is in her room. The door to the Duchess's room was thrown open. He looked at the person before him with concern. Mother, the Duchess reassured him. You didn't need to come for such a small matter. Byrne hurriedly reminded her. It's not a small matter. I heard you suddenly collapsed. Are you feeling better now? Mother should stop working from now on. You collapsed from overwork. Her eyes trembled slightly. Your father is gone. At least I have to contribute to the family. Byrne still wouldn't listen. But mother, before he could finish, the Duchess interrupted him. You just came back from outside, didn't you? You didn't push yourself for my sake, did you? At the mention of this, Byrne lowered his head. I wasn't out for work. She heard this and asked curiously, Really? Then who did you go to see? He answered honestly, I want to see Miss Agnes. The Duchess chuckled. Oh my, so you're on a date. My friend saw her the other day and said that contrary to her fragile appearance, she has a surprisingly strong will. The rumors made me a little worried, but you have your flaws too. So I think it's fine. Byrne interjected coldly. Mother, you said we wouldn't talk about that anymore. Since you seem healthier now, I'll take my leave. Watching him go, she called out, Byrne, don't tell me. Without looking back, Byrne left one sentence behind. Don't worry, mother. I will not go against your or father's wishes. The Duchess looked at her son with regret. A few days later, at a small party, a girl with short hair chattered lively. Oh my, I've never seen that necklace before. The purple-haired girl next to her continued. It was a gift from that young Marquis we saw last time. His taste is excellent, so I'm planning to see him a few more times. Lucia silently lifted her teacup. No matter how many parties I attend, I can't get used to them. And most of all, I didn't expect to see her again. Her name is Celine Lemarian, right? I hope she doesn't cry like last time. Suddenly, someone called her. Miss Agnes. Startled, Lucia turned around. Yes, the short-haired girl asked a question full of confusion. What do you think, Miss Agnes? Lucia froze for a few seconds. What were we talking about? Then she chose a safe way to answer. Yes, I think so too. The girl was satisfied after hearing that. I knew it. Suddenly, the purple-haired girl said provocatively, "Speaking of which, Miss Agnes, I heard you're seeing someone recently." The short-haired girl clapped her hands in excitement and chimed in. "That's right. You're seeing Marquis Casper, aren't you? Can you tell us how you met?" Lucia was lost in thought again. "They want to know how I met Byrne." "Well, it's not something I can't talk about," the short-haired girl urged. "Tell us." Lucia smiled socially. "It's nothing special. I met the Marquis through an arranged meeting. After we continued to meet, we found that we communicated well with each other and seemed to be a good match in many ways." The short-haired girl noticed Lucia's necklace. "Is that necklace you're wearing from Marquis Casper?" She nodded, her hand on the pendant. "Yes, it was a gift." The purple-haired girl, feeling the drama wasn't enough, continued to hit Lucia's sore spot. "So, does that mean you no longer have feelings for Prince Nias?" She was very enthusiastic at first. "I'm not sure what you mean," the short-haired one interjected. "What do you mean?" the purple-haired one bluntly revealed. "Everyone knows Miss Agnes has had feelings for Prince Nias for a long time." The short-haired one was surprised and listened to the gossip with great interest. She pressed on. "Was I wrong?" Lucia didn't rush to explain, just took a deep breath, steadying her breathing. She placed her hand on her chest and said with certainty, "I did have feelings for Herwin once, but that's all in the past. It's been 3 years since I graduated from the academy. I don't understand why it's being brought up now." The purple-haired one was still relentless. "So you completely gave up on those feelings after you graduated?" Lucia's heart skipped a beat again. Well, I only completely let go of my feelings for Herwin recently." She didn't shy away. "Yes, that's right." Seeing the tense atmosphere, the short-haired one suggested, "Let's change the subject." The purple-haired one stood up uncomfortably. "I'm going out for some fresh air." She left in a huff, flouncing her skirt. Lucia breathed a sigh of relief. Then she left the party and went for a walk in the garden. "I really feel uncomfortable around people I don't know well." A woman's voice came from somewhere. "There's something very different about her," another person asked curiously. The short-haired voice lowered and said, "I'm talking about Miss Agnes. If you make her sad, she looks like she's about to cry, but then she'll respond to you with a frank and earnest answer." The blonde-haired one thought for a moment. "Really? I have no impression of that at all." Hearing that conversation, Lucia sighed softly. She was so rude before, and now she's twisting the facts like this. After hearing the story, the blonde-haired one asked curiously, "So is she dating Marquis Casper?" The short-haired one immediately affirmed, "It seems so. I'm more worried about Viscountess Lemarian," Lucia thought, hiding behind a nearby tree. "Viscountess Lemarian?" The blonde-haired one hurriedly pressed, "What's wrong with the Viscountess?" She said vaguely, "You don't know. Viscountess Lemarian, she used to date Marquis Casper. And I heard they were still seeing each other until recently." Hearing this, the blonde-haired one covered her mouth in curiosity. "Then why did she marry the Viscount?" The next words made Lucia's heart jump. "I don't know the specific details, but I heard she was sort of forced into it." She wondered to herself, "Why am I still listening to this? If I keep listening, it would be too rude to the Viscountess, but they were once lovers. Could it be?" Lucia remembered the night of the ball. "Why did you choose me then?" Byrne once said. "It was because you reminded me of someone. That's why I chose Lucia." Hearing this story, Lucia understood. So that was Byrne's hidden meaning at that time, that full moon night at the Agnes mansion. Lucia went home, holding her head in frustration. Lucas appeared out of nowhere. "Lucia, I need to talk to you." A doubt arose in her mind, but she still smiled and agreed. "Okay, please come in. Would you like something to drink?" Lucas refused and got straight to the point. "No, this won't take long." Lucia sat down in a chair and asked, "What did you want to talk about?" He was tired but quite serious. "This might sound a bit sudden, but hear me out. Don't misunderstand. I object to your engagement with Marquis Casper." Lucia's eyes widened in surprise. "Huh? Why are you saying this all of a sudden? You never said anything before." Lucas emphasized in a stern tone, "Things are different now. Actually, I heard something about Marquis Casper." Lucia's curiosity was piqued. "Heard something? What is it?" She thought to herself, "Could it be that Byrne has a bad side? I don't know about." Lucas crossed his arms awkwardly and hesitated. "That guy, he had a lover he was with for a long time, but they broke up after she suddenly married someone else. It said that after the breakup, he didn't leave his house for a whole year. What if he still can't get over her? I object to this marriage." "I object." Lucia smiled and touched her pendant. "Is that all?" "I already knew that." Lucas was stunned for a few seconds. "You already knew, and you still agreed to the engagement?" She nodded lightly. "Yes, my situation is the same. Even though we never dated, I liked Herwin for a long time." He looked at his precious Lucia with concern. Lucia smiled and reassured him. If anything, because he's been through it, wouldn't he be able to understand me better? Seeing that she had thought it through, Lucas didn't say any more. All right, since you think so. I can't stop you, but he still managed to get a word out. If that bastard causes any trouble, just call me. I'll go teach him a lesson. Lucia smiled, feeling cherished. Okay, thank you for worrying about me. Lucas scratched his head awkwardly. It's nothing. Good night, Lucia. After the door closed, she remained seated quietly. The next day, Lucas's voice echoed. Becky, Lucia said she's not calling off the engagement with that Marquis Casper. What if Lucia gets hurt later on? Becky stroked his hair and said, Oh, is that so? Lucia is an adult. She can take care of herself. Lucas was still a little worried. But he suddenly stopped. You're right. There's no use overthinking it. She nodded. Exactly. Shouldn't you be more worried about me? Lucas blushed. All right. Since Prince Aris isn't here either, the call came from outside the door. Brother, are you there? Lucas recognized the voice, Arista. She opened the door and was also surprised. Brother Lucas, and next to him, Lucas hurriedly introduced. This is my girlfriend, Becky. This is my brother's friend, Arista. Arista fixed her hair and nodded. Hello. Becky also returned the greeting politely. Nice to meet you. Just then, Lucas approached Arista. Arista, what brings you here? She replied. I had something to ask Prince Ares, but he's not here today. Lucas smiled upon hearing this. He just stepped out. If it's urgent, you can ask me. Arista's eyes widened happily. Really? Seeing the two of them looking happy, Becky felt a little jealous. I still have work to do, so I'll be going. Lucas seemed completely oblivious, waving goodbye. Take care on your way. Arista turned her head and watched her retreating back. Lucas saw the documents in Arista's hand. Is this what you wanted to ask about? Only then did she turn back and focus. That's right. Here you go. He suddenly realized something. You look a little different today. You usually have an aura like Herwin's, but today you remind me of Lucia. Maybe it's the dress, the high heels, and your hair down. Arista let out a chuckle and teased. You really don't understand a woman's changes at all. Your girlfriend must have a hard time. Lucas seemed quite surprised. Is that so? But why are you so dressed up today? Arista happily revealed. I'm going to dress shop with my mother later, so I have to get through this pile of documents quickly. He took the pile of documents and replied, I see. This won't take 5 minutes. Arista looked at him and smiled faintly. In a luxurious and splendid room, Arista felt uncomfortable trying on a dress. How many more do I have to try on? Lisa smiled and announced, the Duchess has prepared a few more dresses for you. She turned around and reluctantly replied, there's more. Then she led the way. Please come this way. Arista followed helplessly. Lisa opened the door and pointed inside. The dresses are all prepared in here. How about this one? Arista looked at the dress on her and commented, this one is too uncomfortable. I like something that's easier to wear. Just as she was about to suggest changing, someone came looking for her from outside. Lisa. Come here for a moment. She looked at Arista apologetically. Please wait a moment. I'll be right back. She watched her lady-in-waiting leave. Then she collapsed onto the sofa and sighed. Finally, I can rest for a bit. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of the scene in the dressing room. An argument could be heard from inside. This is really troublesome. Then why don't you leave him and come to me? Arista froze for a few seconds. I think I've heard that voice somewhere. Out of curiosity, she moved closer. A man's voice came from inside. A childish guy like Lucas Agnes is not for you. Arista stopped in her tracks and thought, why is his name being mentioned? I must be mistaken, but that voice is definitely his girlfriend's. Arista raised her hand to lift the curtain and peek. The sight that met her eyes was Becky sitting on another man's lap. I like more masculine men like you. Arista covered her mouth in shock. Arista trembled in shock. What on earth did I just see? Behind the curtain, flirtatious words were whispered continuously. So how about tonight? You're so sly. Let's go out. That's enough talk. Becky and a strange man came out. She froze for a moment. A glimpse of Arista's figure startled her. Huh. The man wrapped his arm around Becky's waist. What's wrong? Do you know her? She answered hesitantly, no. Lisa saw Arista standing there and smiled respectfully. Arista's expression looked extremely serious. She just spoke grimly. Right at the magnificent mansion of the Christine family. Just then, Brian and Lucia cheerfully pushed open the door. We're here. Christine immediately came out to greet them. Thank you both for coming. Brian asked curiously, what's going on? Did you only call me and Lucia? Christine said slowly. The others seem to have plans already, so I thought I'd see them gradually. She looked very excited. I'm planning to host a party soon, and I want to invite all of you. Brian and Lucia were puzzled. A party? Christine's servant handed them 2 invitations. This will be an opportunity to formally announce my business. Lucia nodded. I see. Christine excitedly invited her friends. It's going to be quite a large scale this time. You'll all come. Right, Lucia happily accepted, of course. I'll come with Bern. Brian whispered happily on the side. Oh ho, then I'll meet a lot of pretty girls there. Christine, annoyed, scolded him again. You're still only thinking about women. When will you ever grow up? Brian just shrugged. The girls won't leave me alone. What can I do? Then he struck a romantic pose. Ah, being handsome is a sin. Seeing this, Lucia asked curiously, Brian, haven't you heard about the arranged marriage from your family? Brian complained wearily. That's so annoying. Lucia, you too anyway. I'll have to live with the woman my father chooses. So it's okay to be a little rebellious like this, right? Christine, who was just scolding him, asked softly, is your father still so authoritarian? And Brian was already used to these things. He's always like that. At least I'm a second son, so I have more freedom than my brother. Lucia looked at him sympathetically. Speaking of which, Brian's father is very strict. Could it be that Brian's promiscuity is all because of his resentment towards his father? Brian also mused, but should I end this free lifestyle you're talking about? Christine stood beside him and encouraged, yes, because your future fiancé might misunderstand. He sighed. Speaking of which, Christine, you have nothing to worry about with your future fiancé. You've been focused on your career and not interested in love, so there won't be any scandals. But Christine just said sadly, what's the point when I don't even have a fiancé? Brian laughed and teased. How about we get engaged then? Our parents know each other, after all. This left her speechless at once. Just the thought of it is terrifying. So please don't make jokes like that. Unexpectedly, Brian coughed lightly. I was serious. It's sad that you don't understand my feelings. Christine then suddenly remembered something and turned to Lucia. Ah, right, Lucia. Have you contacted Herwin recently? Lucia was taken aback. Huh? Nothing in particular. Christine was full of worry. I wanted to give him an invitation, but he hasn't replied to a single message. He must be very busy. Lucia was curious. Is that so? What on earth is he so busy with? Brian suddenly spoke up. Then I'll give it to him in person tomorrow. I have something to do near the Duke of Peneus's residence. This made Christine even more excited. Really? Seeing this, he said in a coddling manner, your expression is completely different from before. Christine smiled brightly and handed the invitation to Brian. Ah, so you're not going to help me? Brian unconsciously blushed and turned away. That's not it. Christine was still all innocence. Then I'll be counting on you. Lucia just stood by and watched them silently. They always bicker, but they're actually a good match, right? But she suddenly thought of the dress she was wearing. Anyway, if it's a business launch, it's bound to be a rather formal event. I'll have to get a new dress made. A few days later, on the bustling city streets, Simon was carrying things for Lucia. Are you planning to go straight home after your dress fitting today? Lucia tidied her slightly messy hair. I'm not sure. Then she turned to look at Sign radiantly. It would be great to look around. Since it's been a while, I used to come here often when I was at the academy. Speaking of which, Sign looked around. Speaking of which, there seemed to be quite a few students from the academy here. A female student suddenly noticed someone. Oh, over there. Then the female students praised him endlessly, their eyes filled with love. Hey, isn't that Senior Henry? That's right, I didn't expect to see him here. Senior, hearing the name Henry. Lucia found it familiar. If it's Henry, then it's probably the one in front of her. A tall, handsome male student with a sunny smile appeared. His eyes were as charming as when he was a child, just as Lucia expected. She said happily, my goodness, it really is Henry. She called out urgently, Henry, which surprised Henry, Sister Lucia. Then he turned to his friend and said, wait a minute, I'll just go say hi quickly. He hurried over to her. Sister, long time no see, Lucia quickly replied. Yes, long time no see. How have you been? You're even taller than the last time I saw you. Henry smiled with his eyes, showing no sense of distance. Really, I feel like I'm still the same as before. The group of female students from before were gossiping. Senior Henry is smiling. I've never seen him smile. Is that person who makes him so happy? Henry and Lucia paid no mind to those words, just chatting intimately. I can't believe the kid who said he would marry me when he was little has grown up so much. That was a long time ago. She looked Henry up and down, and her eyes widened. I see. Henry put on a pouting expression like a child. Sister, you still only care about my brother. Lucia was taken aback and waved her hands. What? That's not it. She was surprised. So you really haven't contacted Herwin? Henry didn't understand what she was trying to say. Huh? Not seeing Lucia's happy face. I'm getting engaged. This news was like a bolt from the blue for Henry. Engaged? He was stunned and shouted, is it with my brother? Lucia quickly denied. No, I'm getting engaged to Marquis Casper, of course. Herwin already knows. Just then Sign suddenly reminded Lucia. Miss, it's almost time for your dress-fitting appointment. She nodded. Okay. Lucia said goodbye to Henry. Sorry, I have to go now. See you later. Henry was still frozen in place, speechless a moment later. His expression returned. You're saying you're getting engaged to someone other than my brother? Henry's friend, who saw them talking, asked curiously, who was that? Henry just replied coolly, my brother's friend. Hearing this, he joked, I thought you liked her. This is the first time I've seen you smile like that. Henry looked in Lucia's direction and didn't deny the words. Is that so? This left his friend stunned. Huh? Henry just replied softly. I like her. His face darkened. I'll take this opportunity. This look really sent a chill down his two friends' spines. Hey, I don't know what you're planning, but stop smiling so wickedly. The male student from before asked curiously, that girl, she the youngest daughter of the Agnes family? Henry thought for a moment. Yes. Why? That friend followed up blankly. Are you asking because you really don't know? She's about to get engaged. Henry scratched his head, seemingly unconcerned by the news. I know that too. She just told me. Then he smiled excitedly again. They're not officially engaged yet. This really scared the two of them. You're really? Let's go get lunch. Henry thought to himself, I never thought Sister Lucia would get engaged to someone other than my brother. She smiled when she talked about the engagement. Maybe she's really okay now. She must have suffered a lot because of my brother, because he's always so absent-minded. By the time he came to his senses, his friends had already walked far away. Henry hurriedly ran to catch up. Wait for me. The thought his mind wasn't finished. But it seems she's finally forgotten my brother. I hope he won't regret it later. A few days later, on the day of Christine's party. Arista looked at the splendid space and sighed. It seems Christine has taken care of everything. Ethan, standing beside her, agreed. That's right. It's quite grand. Brian complained while holding a glass. That guy Herwin. I guess he's not showing up unexpectedly. In an instant, Herwin's voice immediately rang out. No? Arista said in surprise. My goodness. When did you get here? He seemed to be in a hurry. Herwin said, out of breath, just arrived. Brian looked him up and down coldly. Looks like he's much better. The last time I went to see him, he looked like he was about to die. Brian remembered that time. He knocked on Herwin's door. Herwin. Seeing no response, Brian pushed the door open. Herwin. At that time, Herwin was still resting, lying in bed with his eyes half closed, trying to turn over. You're here. Then he sat up weakly, rubbing his forehead. What is it? Brian was shocked at the sight of Herwin. What happened? He asked worriedly. Are you sick or something? Herwin just said slowly, it's not like that. I just have some things to think about. Brian was restless. Just thinking turned you into this. Did you get dumped by someone? But Herwin was just lost in thought. Brian awkwardly changed the subject. Anyway, I have this to give you. He held out a rather formal invitation. Take it. Herwin was curious. What's this? Brian relayed Christine's message. Christine is hosting a party to talk about her new business project. She really hopes you can come. Herwin took the letter and asked, will the others be there too? Brian answered casually. Of course, Lucia will be bringing her fiancé too. There was some movement on Herwin's face. Marquis Casper, Brian said bluntly. That's right. Suddenly the space around him became dark and terrifying. Herwin said in a piercing voice, if everyone is going, I have to go too. And then Brian, recalling that day, found it strange. There's no way he was actually dumped. He must have been really sick with that thought. He returned to the lively atmosphere of the party. She said it's still a while before it officially starts, right? I'm going to go say hi to a few other people. Arista and Ethan exchanged glances and whispered. That guy is definitely just planning to socialize with the girls. No doubt. Meanwhile, Herwin was restlessly looking around. Where's Lucia? Arista was curious. Lucia? She thought for a moment and replied, I saw her a moment ago, but I don't know where she disappeared to. Hearing this, Ethan looked towards the door. Isn't she taking a walk outside? Arista then remembered and beamed with a happy smile. Oh, I guess she went for a walk with her fiancé. Hearing this, Herwin's face turned cold, his expression extremely poor. He seemed very uncomfortable. I'm going out to find her. Arista was surprised. Why, just wait, she'll be back soon. Even Ethan didn't understand. Yeah, you don't need to go and disturb them. But Herwin left resolutely anyway. I want to greet Lucia alone. I also want to apologize to her. With that, he resolutely went to find Lucia, no matter how much the two of them tried to dissuade him. Arista and Ethan were a little worried. What's wrong with him? Did he fight with Lucia again? In the garden outside the mansion, there was a huge water tower with water flowing rapidly. Herwin walked while pondering. Why couldn't I answer then? He clenched his fists tightly. I said something meaningless. I should apologize to her for upsetting her. Herwin's thoughts were a mess. But is it really just because I want to apologize? Since that day, what's been on my mind is just the thought of seeing Lucia again. Suddenly, Herwin stopped in his tracks. He felt his heart race. Do I really want to see her just because I want to apologize? Then he noticed something in the distance. Herwin's face froze instantly. Lucia. He quickened his pace towards her. The image of Lucia sitting by the water tower flooded into Herwin's eyes. But as he ran over, just as he was about to call out to her, Lucia, he suddenly saw Lucia sitting next to Byrne, looking very intimate. Herwin's entire body suddenly froze at the sight of Lucia and Byrne, their faces extremely close to each other. From his perspective, it seemed as though the two of them were slowly kissing each other. Herwin stood motionless, witnessing that scene as if he couldn't believe his own eyes. A suffocating feeling made him unconsciously cover his face, his mind now filled with only chaotic thoughts, tormenting himself. Why am I like this? I know they are about to get engaged. His heart felt too strange, and as he spoke, he pressed his lips together tightly to stop the train of thought. Herwin immediately turned and walked away. By the water tower, Lucia and Byrne, they silently looked at each other. He was seen holding her hand tightly. With a gaze full of love, Byrne looked at her with concern. Lucia. Then he placed his hand on the back of Lucia, who was crying with her face in her hands, comforting her. It's okay, Lucia. It's all right. Lucia sobbed. I'm so sorry. Byrne could only look at her sadly, as time rewound to an hour ago. Byrne and Lucia were walking side by side at the party. Lucia happily handed flowers to Christine. Christine, this is a small token of my appreciation. I hope your business thrives. Christine replied happily. Thank you so much, Lucia. Byrne also greeted her politely, congratulating her on her new venture. Miss Doris, we'll talk again next time. Christine also responded politely. If it's the Marquis, any time is fine. You can always send a letter. Just as the three were talking, a voice called out, Miss Doris. Christine hurriedly greeted and apologized to Byrne and Lucia. Lucia, I think I have to go. Byrne looked at Lucia with admiration. You have a great friend. To have such a big business at such a young age is truly remarkable. Lucia agreed with him. Christine is really amazing. Running her own business has always been her dream. Byrne took the opportunity to flatter her. Then I'll have to be even better to Lucia, so your friend will have a good impression of me. Lucia replied with a smile. That's right, Byrne, you have to be good to me. Lucia suggested happily. Shall we go for a walk somewhere else then? Byrne agreed. Sure, that sounds nice. Lucia looked excitedly into the distance. Over there, I think my friend is... Before she could finish her sentence, she noticed something was wrong with Byrne. Byrne, what are you looking at? She looked up and saw a beautiful woman. Lucia thought to herself, it's Viscountess Lamariot. I really didn't expect her to be invited to this party too. It would be very awkward if we ran into each other. Celine bowed to Lucia. Hello, Miss Agnes. Lucia quickly replied, Oh, hello. Did you come to the party alone today? Celine replied gently, Yes, my husband is very busy, so I came in his place. What about you? It seems you came with your companion, miss. Lucia glanced uneasily at Byrne, but had his head down. Oh, yes. Celine continued to chat innocently. I heard that you two are getting engaged soon. Lucia could only reply reluctantly. Yes, it seems the engagement ceremony will be held soon. Isn't that right, Byrne? Byrne looked very sad and replied to her, Yes, that's right. Lucia seemed to understand his thoughts. At this moment, she could only whisper in his ear, Are you not feeling well, Byrne? You don't look so good. After speaking, Lucia stepped forward to greet Celine. Then we'll take our leave first. Celine hesitated slightly. Then she gazed in the direction the two of them left. Byrne seemed a little surprised. Lucia. But Lucia just responded with a bright smile. It's okay. You don't have to say anything. Once they reached the water tower, Byrne could finally calm down. I think I can tell you now, Lucia. Lucia looked at him blankly. Byrne asked her awkwardly, You already knew? Lucia shyly smoothed her hair. I don't know what you mean. It's just that I know some things, but I don't know if what I know is true. I happen to have met the Viscountess a few times at tea parties, and I also heard some rumors. Byrne's eyes widened in surprise. You met her at a tea party? Lucia slowly recounted. Yes, when we first met, she directly asked me if I was your fiancé. Byrne said nothing, and the atmosphere suddenly became silent. Lucia unconsciously asked him, Viscountess Lamariot is the one you were originally supposed to marry, right? Byrne looked somewhat sad. Yes, that's right. Seeing this, Lucia said gently, Then can you tell me about the two of you? If you're ready, Byrne. Byrne's face fell, but he still agreed with her. All right, Celine and I both like books, so we often met at the library. At first, I thought she was just a friend I could share things with. He vaguely recalled the way Celine called his name, Burn. He also responded to that sincere call, Celine. Then Burn continued, but before I knew it, I found myself smiling every time I looked at her. The memory went back to when the two were still at the academy. Celine pulled his hand while helping the professor today. I found an amazing place. Do you know where it is? Burn was also curious. Where? Celine looked mysterious. Hurry and follow me. Burn, being pulled by the hand, responded hastily, okay. The two arrived in front of a large room, and Burn asked doubtfully, isn't this the entrance to the storage room? Celine grabbed the doorknob and said with a laugh, hee, don't be scared. Burn was stunned by the sight before him. What is all this? Celine smiled and explained to him, this is a secret room in the library. I even saw a first edition of your favorite Swan novel just now. He still found it a bit hard to believe. Can we really stay here? But Celine didn't care. Oh, come on, it's fine. We're just here to read books. What could possibly happen? Burn recalled those days. The secret room we found became our little paradise. Celine and I spent countless hours there. The memory flashed back to when he and Celine were leaning against each other. Burn unconsciously called out, Celine. She also responded excitedly, what is it? He told Lucia nonchalantly. Not long after we officially started dating, I was so deeply in love with her that the gossip around us didn't matter at all. But finally that day came. Burn was slapped hard by his father. His father reprimanded him loudly. Marrying someone who is not worthy of a noble, I will never accept her. He retorted to his father, even if you object, I will never abandon her. Of course, Celine may have come from a lower noble family. His father looked worried. Do you think I oppose her just because she's a baron's daughter? His expression looked extremely pained. That girl's father, Baron Jensen, he has been borrowing money everywhere in our family's name. Burn cried out in horror. What? But his father shouted, your little love affair is dragging our entire family to ruin. This news was like a bolt from the blue for Burn, leaving him dumbfounded. His father looked at him helplessly. Even so, Burn was already deeply in love with Celine. I'm sorry, father, but I can't break up with Celine. His father simply couldn't believe his ears. What did you say? Just because of a girl, you've become so crazy for Celine. Burn could disregard everything. If you are not satisfied with Celine, please remove me from the family. Burn said painfully to Lucia. Even if the whole family objected, I was determined to protect her. But reality does not flow like the wind. Burn persuaded Celine, please, Celine, let's just elope like this. Unexpectedly, Celine coldly crossed her arms. Elope? And Burn said very sincerely, yes, let's go to a place where no one can stop us and start a new life. Celine looked at him contemptuously. Asking me to give up everything and go with you? Say something decent. Burn froze Celine. She turned her back to him. At this moment, I'm going to marry Viscount Lamourio. This left Burn so shocked he couldn't speak. What? But she bluntly stated without a care, the Viscount has a lot of money. I can live without worries, and I can also get rid of my father's endless money troubles. But if I go with you now, what will I have left? Burn couldn't believe it, Celine. Celine looked at him with cold eyes. To me, you have no value now. Find someone better and forget about me. Burn questioned her. Were you with me all this time for my wealth and family background? Unexpectedly, Celine did not deny it. That's right. You're too naive to only realize it now. After speaking, she got off the carriage without looking back. I'm leaving. Celine hurriedly walked away step by step, as if they had never met. Burn was extremely disappointed and pained at this moment. Because of someone I love enough to give up everything for, I was completely unable to come to my senses. I locked myself in my room for a year, living like a waste. But not long after, suddenly my father also passed away. Then I quickly inherited the title and just worked busily like that. Hearing this, Lucia suddenly fell silent. Oh, Burn continued to confide in her. After the pain subsided, I didn't know if I would ever see Celine again, but it turned out she and Viscount Lamourio were still living well. Lucia asked sympathetically, but you still love her, right? Burn looked at her in surprise. Yes. No, that's not it. Even though Burn denied it, his eyes couldn't lie. Lucia thought for a moment and said, now I understand what Burn meant when you said you and I are similar. We both have someone we love but can't be with. But Burn turned his face away, but I didn't choose Lucia just for that reason. Lucia is so kind, too good to me, and a good person. Lucia understood his meaning. You don't need to apologize to me. Our situations are the same. Burn seemed to want to say something more. But Lucia placed her hand on her heart and confided, because you Byrne bravely said everything, I must also share my story. She lowered her head. I have also had a crush on Herwin for a long time. I thought one day he would accept my feelings, but that day never came. The reason I agreed to the blind date with Byrne was that I was rejected the last time I confessed to Herwin, and I was trying to sort out my feelings. Byrne looked at her sympathetically. It seems you have suffered a lot, Lucia. She just smiled bitterly. I don't know if I can ever love anyone so passionately again, but Byrne, even if it's not love, is a good person, so I like him very much. He called out, choked up Lucia. She reached out and touched him gently. We are no different, so don't think too much about it. Byrne looked at her affectionately. Thank you for telling me this. Lucia was also a little embarrassed. If Byrne had ever asked me for love, I might have felt very burdened. She asked innocently, You too, Byrne? He smiled and agreed. Maybe, but in any case, it's best to confirm. Lucia looked blankly, as if not understanding. Confirm? Byrne's gaze was extremely sincere. Yes, whether we really have no feelings for each other. Who knows? Maybe one day we will really fall in love. Lucia thought for a moment and made a decision. Then try kissing me. This surprised Byrne. A kiss? She explained, anyway, if we become a couple, we'll have to build a deeper relationship. He was a little embarrassed. That's true, but is this your first kiss? Lucia smiled and reassured him. If Byrne becomes my first, I would be very grateful. He no longer worried and moved closer to her. Well, in that case, the two faces were about to touch in an atmosphere full of ambiguity. And this scene was seen by Herwin, who was looking for Lucia. This is really no longer just an imagination. Lucia and Byrne are kissing. While kissing Byrne, Lucia heard someone call her name, Lucia. It was Herwin. He called her name. She looked at him in surprise, Herwin standing in front of her. Suddenly he came closer and held Lucia's waist. The two exchanged a passionate kiss. Lucia thought to herself, if my first kiss was with Herwin, then she closed her eyes and slowly savored the sweetness of kissing him. Lucia returned to reality and quickly pushed Byrne away. That maybe this is better. Then she burst into tears. Byrne's hand reached out. He embraced her and comforted her. It's okay, Lucia. It's all right. Byrne was very gentle. You don't have to say anything. Only Lucia sobbed painfully. I'm sorry, Byrne. Her heart ached. Maybe I'll never be able to forget Herwin in this lifetime. Byrne held her shoulders, Lucia. Lucia looked up at him in surprise, and Byrne slowly said to her, I promise I will never make you cry again, Lucia. Lucia seemed to hesitate after hearing this, but Byrne smiled at her. I'm not sure how Lucia feels, but maybe you and I have the same idea. Then he reached out and wiped away her tears. So I'm even more confident if we become a couple in the future. We will become a couple who can understand and comfort each other, and I will definitely work hard to make you happier. Lucia looked at him, moved Byrne. Then the two happily embraced each other. Herwin, having witnessed everything, left heartbroken. On the other side, at Christine's mansion, Arista was anxiously walking around, looking for those two. Both Herwin and Lucia were nowhere to be seen. She looked suspiciously at the dark corner. Should I check the last place? Suddenly, Arista stopped abruptly. Over there. She frowned in surprise, her cheeks flushing. Before her was the scene of Becky and another man embracing passionately. The man noticed Arista, making Becky also look over curiously. What's wrong? Is someone there? She turned around and saw Arista standing there. The man greeted her warmly. Isn't this Miss Lydia? Arista was surprised. You know me? He politely stepped forward. I visited the Lydia estate once not long ago. I heard the Duke would support business investments. Arista didn't care and just asked, is this girl your lover? The man hesitated before answering. Yes, well, pretty much. After hearing this, she said to him, I want to talk to her. Please excuse yourself. He scratched his head and agreed. Of course. After speaking, he left, leaving the two girls standing there in silence. Becky crossed her arms, looking annoyed. Are we close enough to need a private conversation? Our relationship. But Arista cut her off coldly. That's not the issue here. Who is that person? The man I saw last time was someone else. Becky stared, as if not understanding what she meant. The man I saw last time? Who are you talking about? Then she laughed mockingly, as if she understood. So the person that day was you. Becky lifted her face. So what? You saw. So you're planning to go and tell Lucas everything? Arista answered bluntly, of course. She looked at Arista contemptuously. Lucas, will he believe you? This made Arista angry. What did you say? Becky continued smugly, without evidence. How would Lucas believe you, saying that I'm not just with one man, but with multiple men at the same time? Arista clenched her fists in anger. That's what you did yourself, so don't deny it. Becky shrugged irritably. Geez, so annoying. She walked over to Arista and put her hand on her shoulder. Until there's evidence, even if I did it, it's as if it never happened, miss. Don't be a fool and go tell Lucas. Lest you only confuse and hurt him, just pretend you don't know. Then she seemed to realize something. Could it be that you like Lucas, so you want to snatch Lucas from me? Arista didn't deny it at all. Yes. This shocked Becky. What? Arista's gaze was extremely firm. Yes, I like Lucas. Becky's eyes widened, speechless. What? Arista shouted out all the feelings in her heart. So I feel very sorry about the fact that you are always by his side. Becky was a little flustered at this moment. Then Lucas will think you're doing this because you can't control your jealousy, right? Who do you think Lucas will believe? Me or you? I'm Lucas's girlfriend, and you are not. But Arista just looked at her with contempt from the bottom of her heart. That's Lucas's choice. Afterwards, she turned and left, leaving Becky frozen on the spot. Wait, she now showed a look of fear. The next day, at the Agnes estate, Lucia had just woken up from a long sleep. The sunlight is so beautiful. Stein came in with a towel, looking concerned. Oh my, miss, your eyes are so swollen. Lucia got out of bed and asked Stein, is it bad? She replied, yes. Luckily you went to bed early yesterday. What on earth happened? Stein gently took a towel and wiped her face. Lucia said nonchalantly, nothing special. But Stein knew Lucia too well. Really? You weren't rejected again, were you? Lucia could only smile bitterly. Just yesterday, Burr and I truly opened our hearts to each other. On the contrary, I feel more comfortable, so don't worry. Hearing this, Stein was relieved. That's good. I was worried something had happened to you again. Lucia pretended to say, what could happen? She said respectfully to Lucia, it seems quieter than before. If you need anything else, just let me know. Lucia said gently, no, I'm fine. You can go out. Stein bowed to her. Yes, miss. The door to the room was then closed. Lucia sat alone on the bed thinking, I didn't lie to Stein, but in the end, I still cried so miserably, even though I promised to give up every time. If this continues, it will collapse immediately. Will Burn and I only hurt each other? Lucia looked at the distant sky through the window. The weather is so nice today. Opening the window, she heard the polite voice of a servant. Yes, madam. She was a little surprised, Mom. Lucia looked down and pondered. Could I ask Mom for some advice? Thinking this, Lucia immediately put on her dress and went downstairs, calling out Mom. Her mother looked at her kindly. Lucia, what is it? Lucia said obediently, I have something I'd like to ask you. So I came down. Her mother smiled and said, sit down first. What did you want to ask me? Lucia poured out her thoughts. Your marriage with Dad was a political marriage, right? She replied, that's right. She asked hesitantly, Mom, when did you fall in love with Dad? She swirled a teacup on the table, pondering, love. Kind of think of it, I've never talked about how Dad and Mom first met. He had someone he loved at the time. Lucia was stunned. Yes? Unexpectedly, her mother just slowly narrated. To be precise, it was his one-sided love. I won't reveal who that person was. Then she imitated how her father was at the time. I'm sorry, but it's impossible for me to love you. Lucia's father's handsome and cold face was described very vividly by her mother. She continued, he was still so cold until I walked down the wedding aisle. I was the same, not expecting love from him. But at the wedding, that girl did show up, right? Lucia couldn't believe it and asked flusteredly, what happened then? Her mother just smiled and covered her face. I made a big scene. She couldn't stand me and left her seat immediately. I also saw your father's panicked look at that time. Could it be that he fell in love with me after that? Lucia looked at her blankly. How can you tell such a story with a laugh? Her mother said gently, well, half joking, half serious. But since then, the way he treated me changed a little. In those days, marriages were decided by parents, and parents, like everyone else, were not perfect from the beginning. But later, my parents were still very happy because he was very good to me, and I gradually fell in love with him. She shyly smoothed her hair. As you can see now, your parents have reached the point where they can't live without each other. Lucia was somewhat envious, so there was such a story between Mom and Dad. She looked at her own reflection in the teacup. Even if we don't fall in love at first sight, we can still be happy. Then Burn and I in the future, we will be able to forget everything and be able to start a new beginning.